Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the 50th episode of the motherfucking Heel Hook Show. 50 motherfucking episodes. It's actually more than 50 episodes, but we won't get into that. We are joined today, myself and Eddie, by Brad Wharton of Cage Warriors and many other acclaims. How you doing?
Me. Anyone else will take me.
Anybody. He's the MMA slut of commentating.
I was going to say, I'd like to say I'm like a mercenary, but hoe is probably a better descriptive.
Oh my days. It's been a long couple of weeks for you. Telling me just before we started the show that you've been doing multiple different shows in regions, so it's nice to have a break this weekend.
Yeah, man, I've done 5 in 4 weeks. So I did like a double header the weekend before last, so I did the Friday and the Saturday. Had to travel in between, which was a nightmare. Had a really fucking bizarre incident on the Friday night after I did that Phoenix Muay Thai MMA show in London.
Yeah.
And it went on really, really late, and we got back to the hotel like 2, 3 in the morning, and my key didn't work. You know, they had the swipe card things.
Yeah.
So I went up, it didn't work. Went back downstairs, got a new key, back upstairs. Did this like 3 times. So as you can imagine, like I'm getting pretty pissed off by this point. It's late. I need to be up at 8 a.m. to travel to Leicester for my next show. I'm a pretty chilled out guy at the best of times, but I needed my bed. And so I got this like night manager to like check what was going on, and she goes, "Oh, it's a different name on the room than the name you've just given me." And I was all right. Okay, I know what the issue is here. Like when I turned up the day before,
right,
my room hadn't been booked, and the promotion had basically just block booked a load of rooms for various different people who weren't going to be there, and they gave me rooms. So I give them all my details. They put my details. They changed the details of the room. So I said, that's probably why it's shown a different name. It was originally booked for someone else, but they definitely changed it last night. So they're like, okay, no worries, fine. So they went upstairs again. Key didn't work again. I went back downstairs and they said, oh, maybe the battery's dead, because apparently they're battery powered, the key readers on doors.
Oh, the doors, right. I thought you meant the actual keys. I was thinking, Jesus.
No, that's some Jetson shit, mate. We're not that trendy.
I thought we were doing some Back to the Future type bullshit.
So they said, right, we'll get this porter guy to go up with you. So this porter goes up, scans it again. He's like, yeah, the battery's dead. I'll get it replaced in the morning. Uses his master key to unlock the door, opens the door. Away you go, sir. Have a good evening. And I walk into the room, and I shit you not, there's like a load of stuff on the floor that isn't mine, and 4 children in the beds, and they'd like had camp beds. And I'm like diving out of this room backwards. Do you remember that game Max Payne?
Oh,
where you can dive in slow motion? I'm fucking back. Yeah.
Fuck.
And I'm like, whoa, go, where are you going? Like, I need a witness here. I've just fucking broke into some kid's bedroom.
Jesus Christ.
So apparently, bear in mind, it's not these guys' fault. They're just like the night staff. So apparently, during the day, like the room that they put me in was actually meant to be vacated that day.
Yeah.
So they booked it for one night rather than putting me in a room that was booked for 2 nights. And I'd actually had the conversation in the morning with one of the hotel staff, and they said, are you leaving today? I was like, no, definitely not. Definitely coming back tonight. Okay, fine. So they basically, like, bear in mind as well, the only reason I couldn't get into the room was that the battery thing was broke. So if I was some dodgy geezer, I basically just had access to a room with 4 kids in it.
Oh my God. That could have been.
Wasn't happy, man. Like, I didn't really care because they gave me a suite because all the rooms were booked up for the rest of the hotel. So I got a suite tonight, but
damn Skippy, that because you could have been like the first guy in like MMA commentary that we know of that could have been
Operation U-Tree.
Jesus.
So apparently, what they'd done is they'd sent someone into the room. They took all my shit, dumped it all in my suitcase. And then just left the suitcase in one. They didn't even put it in like lost and found. They left it in one of the staff like office rooms. Hadn't left any notes on the system. Hadn't tried to call me. Hadn't called the promoter. I was like, guys, what are you playing at? This is a good hotel as well. It's not like a fucking travel lodge or something.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ, yeah, that's not what I needed, mate. Not what I needed.
Those anal beads probably should have been tucked underneath a little bit there, man.
That's not even the worst of it. My
I came back at the right time. I came back at the right time. Ain't no beats the fuck.
Can I just bring up something right now? Can we see your thumbnail, sir? Eddie, this is.
Me?
Can we see your thumbnail? Yeah, because your thumbnail look right. Can we just discuss this right now? You look like an extra from Scarface. Like, let's not.
Goddamn right. You know what's funny? Hey, that picture is when I was in Italy, man. I was in Italy for a couple months after I graduated college. And that was it must have been a shitty day. I don't remember. But
honestly, like Miami ready to move something.
I look like I'm like waiting for a response I'm waiting for a response on a Coke deal on that picture.
Yo, you remember Carlito's Way? The guy who I can't remember the name of the gentleman he's in like every gangster film, but he was the one who was trying to convince Carlito to come back to his ways and everything like that. And I think the guy who actually ends up killing him. You legit look like him. That's so messed up.
That is pretty funny. That is funny though.
Oh, I'm so used to seeing that Crossbones MMA logo that I saw that I was like, is Eddie on somebody else's profile?
No, that's my right. I wish. You know what? Everyone should make a troll account. I feel like I'm missing out on trolling people for real. Like the way people do.
I used to have one on. I used to have on Twitter called the Iron Sheik on MMA. So basically, I used to tweet about MMA like I was the Iron Sheik. It was fucking brilliant.
God. So you said jabroni a lot then, yeah?
Yeah, that kind of thing.
The Iron Sheik's fucking legit Twitter sounds like a fucking parody to me. Like that dude, I follow him because he's hilarious. All the shit he puts on those is like jabroni this and jabroni that. I'm like, what the fuck?
I'll say it'll be a sad day if like Hulk Hogan outlives the Iron Sheik.
Oh, that's gonna happen. That's gonna happen.
I don't think Hulk Hogan's ever gonna die. That whole immortal thing.
Yeah,
that's real.
He's gonna die.
Have you seen the Iron Sheik documentary?
Yes.
Really good film.
I think really good film. Like, there's very few wrestling films that do like the documentary thing well. I think there's very few of them. I think the only ones that I really enjoyed was the Paul Heyman one, the self-destruction of the Ultimate Warrior. That was a brilliant.
That one was fucking. Because again, I was still watching wrestling, and up until about the Rock retirement, or when he left the first time. And I watched the Ultimate Warrior one. I didn't know all that shit about him. Like when you were watching as a kid, you didn't know he was an awful fucking wrestler. You thought he was like a cool motherfucker, right? And it turns out nobody wanted to wrestle with him because he's awful. Like he hurts motherfuckers. Like goddamn.
Same as Bill Goldberg. He's the same. Everybody didn't want to work with him.
I love how they went on about how Ultimate Warrior used to gasp before he actually got to the ring. When he used to like run down, they'd be like, yeah, he'd be puffing hard by the time he got to the ring.
Why do you think his matches lasted 30 seconds? There were no chance he were going to be able to do much more, man.
But
when you look back now, it's like the guy can't even do a clothesline properly. You're like, how the fuck was this guy so good?
Dude, yeah.
Those like superhero moments that we always talk about with wrestlers, though, that they're the guys that they transcend the reality of what.
Yeah, the funny thing is, anytime Frankie Edgar runs out to the fucking cage or DC runs out to the cage, it brings that back. I wish somebody would do the Ultimate Warrior like theme song, like and then just run. Exactly, go to that cage and shake the shit out of it. That would be fucking legit.
His fat ass is going to be laying on the floor. Believe that. Jesus Christ. That's not the one, and the only other documentary that I really enjoyed was the CM Punk documentary. But yeah, they're the main.
Oh no, dude, do you guys see? Here we go with the wrestling shit. You're actually talking about stuff that I know, so it works out. Fucking Shawn Michaels. You ever seen the older ones where they talk about all his troubles? I was like, wow, I had no clue when I was a kid that this motherfucker was that fucked up.
He was an asshole as well. That's the irony.
Oh yeah.
By many. The other one that's kind of heartbreaking to watch is the Eddie Guerrero one.
Dude, that's legit my favorite wrestler of all time. Like Eddie Guerrero. When he died, legit shed a tear, man. I was a kid. I was like, no.
I was gonna say, that was like 2004, 2005, and that's just sad shit, man. I remember watching his last match, and then my friend, this is like back in the day when you couldn't afford to ring people on mobiles. I remember him literally ringing me on my landline and like speaking to my family, saying, I need to speak to us, and like he rang me up to tell me that Eddie Guerrero died, and I didn't believe it. And this was when like there wasn't the Twitter thing, there wasn't the Facebook thing, so you didn't have various sources confirming it. And then when I'd gone and looked on WWE's website, and you saw that he passed away and stuff like that, But that's another thing where we talk about these guys when we watch wrestling. And this is, I think, one of the main reasons that we don't want to see it happen in MMA is a lot of these guys, it's cocaine, painkillers, and PEDs. They're the things that kill half the wrestlers, whether it be the old ones, the middle ground ones, and ones that we're seeing that are just out of the game now.
I think my favorite wrestling documentary was Beyond the Mat. Did you ever see that one? It was quite an old one. The bit where Jake Roberts smokes crack and starts talking about how's it. It was like was it his father-in-law or something who killed his sister and wouldn't tell the family where she was buried. And it's like, fucking hell, that's so dark. Like, you can understand how he's ended up, as a fucking massive crackhead, basically.
Have you seen the Scott Hall one?
Pardon?
Have you seen the Scott Hall one, the Razor Ramon one recently?
Yeah. It was the ESPN one where he comes out to wrestle completely fucking.
And that was in the UK, I believe, as well. I'm sure that was at one of the UK promotions, and he's absolutely just off of his face, and he
can barely stand up.
It's disturbing to watch. I'm going to go and see him in December. Sorry, I'm off to go and meet him. Cannot wait to meet fucking Scott Hall. I've met a few people before, but Scott Hall's one of those guys that him and Ric Flair are two people that I'm dying to meet. Do you know what I mean? But the worst thing is half of my friends have already met Ric Flair, which is annoying as shit. So, but I hope I one day get to meet Ric Flair. But I'm gonna do a little bit of magic working because I know a few people with the company that's bringing him over. So when he does come over, because I know he does independent UK promotions because his son wrestles now, obviously. But I'm gonna see if I can try and get him as a guest on here. That's gonna be one of my goals for December.
Bad guy.
Yeah, I'm gonna
get the bad guy on
in there. So. But yeah, speaking of pro wrestling, if there's anybody who we should be talking about pro wrestling and MMA, seeing as me and Eddie kind of went on a tangent and didn't bring it up on Tuesday even. But yeah.
The Boston Crab. The Bolton Crab.
The Bolton Crab.
I didn't think that was possible. That actually to be in that position to get to that point. You know what I mean? It takes, a lot had to happen for him to be able to do that shit. And so a lot of people were like, oh, to work. What's to work? It's fake, right? It's to work. It's to work. It's I'm like, I don't know. I think the other guy looked pretty fucked up to me, but damn.
I think what happened is when he was going for a high crotch and then switched to a single leg, and then he properly slammed him down and he hurt his back then. And we were we thought that he was done at that point. We thought he was going to, he'd injured his back and he was going to tap. And you could hear he was not so much screaming, but he was really grunting and groaning, fuck, what's going on? And we were oh, this is gonna be really bad. He's just gonna tap out. The guy sat on top of him. And apparently, Jono, the fighter who pulled the crab off, he was talking to Adam, the promoter, before the fight, and he said oh, I want to do something crazy because it was a last minute replacement opponent as well. So he knew the guy didn't have many grappling chops anyway. He's I want to try and do something crazy. And Adam was right, it's got to be a fucking crossface or a Boston Crab or something. I was right. Because if I get a Boston Crab, will you pay me an extra £100 bonus or something? And he was yeah, sure, no problem.
£100, man. Fucking hell. That's dark. I think about that and I think to myself, what if you'd have fucked up? What if that guy weren't as injured as he was, and you'd have gone for that Boston Crab? He sneaks out the back and he gets your back and he fucking just pummels your. You know what I mean? One of those moments where we go, you fucked up. You fucked up.
Well, that's the thing, isn't it? It was a risk for him. He's just opened his own gym, so he was really. It's a real risk for fighters. When they've just started off at pro and they're opening their own place, they need to get a few wins behind them. Because if you're a coach and you're 3-0 as a pro, that's great. But if you're a coach and you're 1-2 as a pro, it doesn't really look very good in terms of getting students to gym. So he was I want to. Obviously, I want to win the fight, but I want to try and finish him in a cool, crazy way that's going to get me noticed. And I think altogether it's nearly 10 million views or something.
Yeah, I was going to say I think it's over 10 million views because I was going to say that the ones that I've seen on Facebook alone, this isn't even including Twitter and whatnot, but the views that I've seen where it tells you at the bottom, they're over 800,000, 1.5 million. I'm just this is absolutely insane. That I'm seeing this on Bleacher, I'm seeing this on Fox, I'm seeing this. It's literally everywhere. I'm seeing wrestlers tweeting about it. The impressions that this has got
Yeah, man.
Billion.
I mean, Chris Jericho retweeted on night. There's so many people tagging him in it. He was like, "Yeah, see, it works."
I was thinking to myself, "Where's Rick Martel, motherfuckers?" That's what I was thinking.
I know. Yeah. Old school.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, I remember when he had a match against Jake the Snake. I think that was I want to say WrestleMania 7 or 8, where he had the bags on.
Yeah, when he had the masks on. Yeah, fuck, that was a shit, right?
That was one of the worst fucking matches ever, because the worst thing was
you could even see like the bit where they'd obviously cut the bit out so they could see and just put some mesh over it.
You could hear them talking to each other, like, turn left, turn left, turn left. And I'm just thinking to myself, like, it's bad enough when you watch Brock Lesnar. Like, he's one of the notorious people. When you see him wrestle, you can hear him calling the next move out. Like, I saw him in his last match, and he turned around and went, he says, "Suplex me one more time," does the guy who's getting suplexed. And Brock Lesnar turns around and says, "You're going to have to help me out, big guy." And I'm just thinking to myself, like, oh, this is so bad. The Rock's another one. There's a few people who are notorious, like, you can genuinely hear them, not just like lip read, but you can see them just shouting it out. But there's been a few moves, though, that I've been seeing everybody retweeting and stuff like that, though, obviously finishes in MMA that have been pro wrestling-esque moves and stuff like that, though. So I saw the camel clutch. Obviously, we've seen the ankle lock. That's like a common one, in fairness.
Yeah.
But the one thing that I was amazed that we've never seen, though, is I'm surprised that we've never seen a chicken wing. I'm really surprised we've never seen a chicken wing.
There's been a chicken wing in the UFC. Man, I'm trying to remember who it was. It's going back to like 2010, and I think it was recorded as like a hammerlock or something. I'm not going to be able to remember off the top of my head now, but there's definitely been a sort of modified chicken wing type move.
Oh, I need to. Right, hold on. Right, we're going to find this in MMA. Hold on. Right. First chicken wing in MMA. Well, oh, it's not.
I'm trying to remember who it was. And it's, the reason I remember it is that back in 2010, I used to do a radio show in America, and we were all basically having the exact same conversation that we're having now about like pro wrestling moves in MMA. It was basically like, I don't know if you've ever been arrested, but it's basically what policemen do to you when they arrest you and they put one fucking arm up right behind your back. One of those bad boys.
It's naughty.
Not that I've been arrested recently.
It's definitely naughty. I'm looking now, and the only thing I'm finding is I'm just seeing, like, obviously Bob Backlund. I'm seeing Martin Skrull do it on somebody against Matt Riddle of all people, which is funny enough. And then Sakuraba doing it in a gym.
I'd say it's not like a perfect pro wrestling-esque one. It is more of like sort of a hammerlock type thing, but it was back when the prelims weren't shown anywhere, so they weren't on TV, they weren't streamed, and I think they showed after the main event, they showed like the last 2 minutes of the fight or something. Obviously, the full fight will be on Fight Pass now.
Was it OSP?
No, I don't think it was OSP. I'm not sure. I'll have a think about it.
And, definitely got some submissions under his belt now, though, for sure.
Yeah, like 3 Von Flus. That's fucking crazy.
Yeah, but for sure they'll stop trying to guillotine him, though. like, let's just put it out there.
We had a Von Flu on that same show.
Yeah.
FCC, and me and the guy who commentated, Steve, we'd done a show like 3 weeks before that had a Von Flu on it as well.
It's really weird. Whenever I go to
seems to be finding us.
Whenever I go to small promotions, it's always interesting, though, like, because, regional promotions, should I say. When you go to regionals, it's always funny because you always see a lot of guys that you can tell that really work on the ground game and really work on the grappling. And you always see weird submissions that you don't see commonly on, like, big shows and stuff like that. And it's so weird because, like, even when I went to, when was the last time I went? I think I went to Almighty Fighting, and, like, I think it was like 8 out of the 12 fights they had on all finished by submission. And you could just see the level of grappling, and the guys who didn't, and they just came to bang, and it was just like, well, you're getting taken down and strangled.
I mean, yeah, this is the good thing. Like that. I mean, I'm really happy for Jono that he got that sub and it's gone, viral. Obviously, going to do a lot for him. But I think from like our point of view, as promoters of that show, so we just hope that people see it and think, well, hang on. Like, maybe I should go to my local event next time, because crazy shit like that always happens. There's always like a ridiculous knockout or a ridiculous submission. Granted, not that crazy, but
no,
crazy stuff always happens. It doesn't necessarily mean that because it's a regional show or a local show or a show in a nightclub or a working men's club, doesn't necessarily mean the fights are going to be shit. As long as they're matched well, you're going to get a good scrap. And even if they're not matched well, you're going to see some crazy knockouts and crazy submissions.
You'll see some old people get fucking flying head kicked.
Yeah. So I hope people kind of take notice and say, well, you know what? I've got a show half an hour down the road from me. I'm going to go buy a ticket and support them. Because at the end of the day, it's shows like that that need your money. You know, the UFC are doing fine at the end of the day. Yeah. Cage Warriors, Bama, etc. They're all doing okay. It's the little shows, you know. I mean, the so small. I mean, I think FCC, for example, we were having a chat, and it's like the risk is about 40 grand to make $2 profit once everyone's been paid. You might as well go down the bookies for that kind of money. Do you know what I mean? If you're going to risk that kind of money on a show, and a few hundred, 500 people turning up extra can mean the difference between the promoter saying, well, you know what, I'm going to jack it in now, or you know what, I'm going to carry on. So get to your local show.
I was talking to the lads at work because his son. Can you hear feedback, or is it just me?
Just you.
I thought I can hear it, but yeah.
I don't know. I thought I could hear feedback then. I couldn't tell if it was me or not. Basically, what I was going to say is I was talking to one of the guys at work, and his kids just getting into MMA as far as watching it and whatnot. And he was talking about like if his kid would be able to go and stuff like that because his kid's like I think 11 or 12. And I was just saying to him like, there's some shows that'll let you go and stuff. I just said to him, just stay away from certain crowds. If you see certain crowds getting rowdy, just move to the other side because there's always going to be those two. Like there's always like regionals and like small shows. You always find that there's always two groups that are watching their friend, and they'll always be fighting. And then one will say one thing, and then the best friends will be stood next to him of the other guy, and it always ends up in a little scrap at small events. So I just said, look, just always be wary of your surroundings and just kind of keep an eye out. Do you know what I mean? It's like anything. It's like going to a boxing event. It's no different.
I mean, look, that's on the promoter in the venue at the end of the day. If you've got any sense, if you know, especially if there's a load of bad blood, you put the tickets that have been sold through the fighters on either side, so they're not anywhere near each other, and you make sure you've got a good security team in.
Exactly.
We've been really lucky at FCC. I think we've had two, when I say fights, I don't even mean fights, just like two little minor scuffles in 6 years, because we always take we do a floor plan. We know where everyone's sat. No one's allowed to be in a certain section where they don't have a ticket to get in, and we've got a massive fucking security team. It's not just like anyone with the CIS badge, right? We have a professional event security team. We pay extra for it, but it's been worth it because we know that if there's a big scrap there, we lose the venue. So it's worth it to us to pay that bit of extra money. But, when you go into these shows that are in nightclubs and local halls and that, obviously they're doing the bare minimum because they don't have the money for extra security and stuff like that. So, yeah, probably good advice. Just, I want to say stay clear of big tattooed guys, but that's kind of everyone. So.
Everybody.
That's gone out the window.
Just stay home.
I think at the end of the day, though, I think it's good that now that the sport's evolved so much, though, that an adult can turn around and say, I want to take my kid to go and watch it. Because if I remember watching it in I think it was 2000, 2001. And I was only 13, 14 at the time. And I remember saying to my granddad about taking me to go because he always was the one who would take me to sporting events. And I said to him, can I go? And he was like, there's no way in hell I'm taking you. No way in God's green earth am I taking you to that. But he'd take me to a boxing event. And I was like, I'd saw fights and stuff like that breaking out at boxing events in bingo halls and, you know what I mean, shit like that. So I was like, how is that any different? He's like, I am not taking. It's so weird to think that you're talking 17 years later on, and now I'm telling some guy that you'd be fine to take your kid to go and watch an MMA fight. It'd be fine. But it's a cool thing to see how the sport's evolving, and now we're not having to just kind of say, right, you have to be 18 plus, and you have to be a brute, and it's underground as hell, and it's not like that anymore.
Yeah, I think most venues will be if there's alcohol being served, it's probably a case of you can go if you're over 12 if you've got an adult with you, that kind of thing. I mean, we don't let any under 16s in without adult supervision, which is standard for anywhere really. I think nightclub shows, you're not going to get in unless you're 18, regardless, because of their venue license. They've not got live events licenses. So it's the thing, man. If you want to go and see a live MMA event, get on Facebook. They're everywhere. There's not a weekend that goes by where there's not some local event, whether it's something like Bama or Cage Warriors, which is probably more suitable for younger people because, you know, it's in the big arena, it's going to look great, it's going to be an enjoyable live experience, or whether, you know, you just want to go and see your mate fight down the local village hall or in a local nightclub. There's always something going on, man. So if you've got kids and you want to take them, just message the promoter and say, is it safe to bring kids? Is it all right to bring kids? And you get an answer.
Yeah, legit. Switching gears, we've got to talk about some big returns, potentially at least one anyway. But Carlos Condit, the natural born killer, returning for UFC 219 against Neil Magny. I didn't see that fight coming out. I didn't think he'd be the one.
Bro, I can explain this one in like one sentence. The UFC hates Neil Magny.
Don't make this a Donald Trump race. Like, don't make this a thing.
They hate Neil Magny.
Don't make it a thing.
No, but look at who they put Neil Magny against. It's like, look, fuck this guy. We're gonna find a way to just fuck his world up.
Whoa. Can we just say this one thing? Me and you both picked him to beat RDA.
I know. Fuck.
So don't make out that like, oh yeah, they've been setting him up to get slaughtered. It's like, well, not really, because we thought he was going to get his ass kicked by.
Well, let's go back the last few opponents. Okay. Kelvin Gastelum, Hector Lombard, Lawrence Larkin, Johnny Hendricks, Rafael dos Anjos. They're trying to get this guy murdered.
No, they're not. They're giving him guys who can't even make weight.
What, Johnny Hendricks?
What? All of Kelvin Gastelum? What are we talking about right now? We're talking.
It's 2015, dog. That's more than likely like the last stage of puberty Kelvin had to go through. That's why.
Oh my god!
Why you hating on that dude?
Right. So Kelvin Gastelum couldn't make weight, so he had to go up. So we thought, we'll let him get slaughtered by somebody who can make weight. Same with Johnny Hendricks. Hector Lombard, he got knocked out by Henderson. So let's just come on.
Okay, whatever.
It's not exactly like. If you look at, for example, probably talk about later on, Kevin Lee's opponents, like he's got a good run, but it's not like recognized killers.
Oh no, but he's been talking his way there. That's the thing. Like,
absolutely.
He's been talking his way there, and you know that's here nor there. You know, half of the guys who get to the top get there way sooner than they should be.
Yeah, I mean, put it this way with Magny, he's not had it easy.
Oh no, he hasn't had it easy. Like the guys who he's fought. You know, former champions and stuff like that. And, you know, that's respectable. I'm not trying to dispute that. What I'm saying is, though, is he was in the top 5. Like, he was, you know, top 5. So, you know, these guys who are coming up or down from weight, like, categories, he should be able to handle, per se, because he's a top 5 in that division. He should run through them and get clout and get recognition for I just beat Johnny Hendricks, you know, a former champion. I just beat Rafael dos Anjos, former champion. He can turn around and then if he'd have beat both of these men, you could turn around and say, I'm next for a title shot. I've just beaten 2 champions. Let's make it a third and I'll take the belt home with me.
Yeah, I suppose that's the other way of looking at it. You know, he was fighting guys who, if he had beat them at that time, it would have elevated him to that point.
Exactly.
But, yeah, he's not had the best run.
So don't know, man. Dana White's Donald Trump, Eddie. God damn it.
What? I didn't do shit.
Man, you're trying to spark it. He's trying to make this a race thing.
I wasn't making it a race thing. I'm just saying this. Hey, real quick. So someone said, and I know we're kind of going up tiny bit off topic, but they're making John Moraga change his walkout music for this weekend.
What?
Yeah, his song it's a Bone Thugs song, and they're changing it because it's a violent song. And it's called Vegas thing, the shooting. So it's like really trippy. It's just weird.
I can understand.
Like, if it's about violence, then why are we having fights?
Yeah. Yeah.
I
don't agree with all that kind of change. I don't think you should change anything about an event after something happens, because then you're letting the event of what somebody has done dictate and alter the show that you present and what you represent.
Yep.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. Like at the same time, I suppose the example I was going to use was I'm a big nerd. I'm really looking forward to the Punisher show on Netflix.
Yes.
So they were supposed to have a panel on that on New York Comic Con this week, and they've cancelled it. The show was supposed to be coming out like they've got like a mystery release date for it, so they're just going to drop it one day on Netflix. It's supposed to be in the next couple of weeks, but that's been pushed back as well. And I just think it's kind of good, really, in a sense, because if that show came out next week, it's not going to be able to stand on its own as a show. It's just going to be, oh, that's the show they released with shootings in the week after a mass shooting. How insensitive.
I think that's slightly different, though, because you're talking about something that's reflects
a violent song. And then they're like, oh, how insensitive. When it's like, well, no, he's not being insensitive. That's just his song that he always walks out to. But you know that dickheads in the media are going to do what dickheads in the media have to do to get the clicks and get the views and make an issue out of it.
Dickheads in the MMA media. God damn, you guys ruining people's fucking entrances.
Well, no, like, people, if Fox are, supposedly having a little bit of trouble with the contract dispute, with not dispute, but contract extension with the UFC. So, wouldn't be great if Fox News made a big deal out of it.
Well, that's
maybe it wasn't because they're kind of pro guns, but someone else might, for example.
I'll put it this way, though. On the flip side to that, not based on the UFC, but if this, if he came out to that song and he won, there'd be a lot of media attention against him, maybe a little bit negative, granted, but it's elevating him. His name's being spoken, and then people might. I don't know. Maybe he's not that kind of guy. I don't know. I don't want to make that assumption, but he could use.
It's not something you want to be associated with, though, is it? From a PR point of view, you don't.
I don't want if he's got meaning in that context, he's like, look, this is my song, deal with it. You know what I mean? I'm not being disrespectful. If you want to take it that way, fuck you. That's different than turning around and saying, I'm going to do it regardless. I don't care about the gun shooting. That's different. But
I mean, what dickhead journalists will do, though, they'll stick a microphone in the face of someone who's directly involved with it and say, this fighter came out to a song about shooting. What do you think about that? And they'll say, oh, that's terrible. And then your headline is, parents of shooting victim criticize fighter for coming, and that's how it works, man. It's stupid, but that's how it works.
What y'all media do for clicks, motherfuckers. Y'all motherfuckers. What was I gonna say though? The additional thing of, so can we all like kind of stand by the fact that like Carlos Condit should be fighting somebody better, or somebody who's not on a bit of a downer like Neil is?
I mean, who are you gonna give him, a killer? I mean, I wouldn't on a return fight. I mean, it's a good fight for him to come back to. I'm just saying Neil Magny's getting a little bit of like, they're like, let's just throw him Neil Magny, see what happens. I feel like that's how it went. I don't think they were like, oh, Neil Magny would be a good fight for him. They were like, throw him some scraps. Let's go. Whatever you got.
I don't know, man. I'd like to.
Neil Magny's really good, but still.
I'd like to have seen him in one or two.
Dude, imagine this. Neil Magny gets hurt. Who comes in replacement? Nick Diaz.
Oh, fuck off with Nick Diaz. He ain't coming back.
I know. It's just, I'm just wishing here, okay? I know it's not gonna happen ever, but I'm just wishing he would come back. One more fight, Nick. God damn it. Just one. And make it Carlos Condit.
He's like the folklore. He's like the ghost man. He's like he's like Candyman. Like, oh, y'all keep on saying his name, but he don't come. Like the worst.
We're gonna keep it going too. Watch. We're just gonna keep it going as long as we can.
You know what? Like we saw. Is it who was the guy, the boxer who just said that he wanted to fight Steven Seagal?
Oh, George Foreman.
George Foreman, this is what we're going to deal with. In 30 years' time, you are all still going to be saying, Nick,
damn right,
just come back for one more fight.
I will proudly lead that group, sir. I will lead that chant all day. Okay.
It's going to be something stupid like Nick Diaz versus CM Punk in like Rising in 2050.
I'm in on that.
Somebody make that motherfucking poster. Fuck
yeah, that'd be fucking great. This is for laughs sake. Speaking of which, I know CM Punk was supposed to have an opponent. Any word on that shit yet? Because I haven't seen anything.
I haven't seen anything, but I know that he's apparently got an opponent. At this point, I'm kind of like, bro, like, just go back to pro wrestling. Just like,
you know what it's gonna be though? It's gonna be like they're gonna let this poor sat walk out by himself. They're gonna be, oh shit, this guy's on the card. What the fuck? And all of a sudden, CM Punk's music is gonna break, and here comes CM Punk. It's gonna be this wrestling style as fuck on the FS1 prelims or whatever fucking company they sign with. But it's gonna be that. Watch.
Man, if CM Punk like vicious knockout, I'm gonna fucking do cartwheels. I'm just throwing that out there, though.
I genuinely I genuinely didn't care about the CM Punk fight because I'd never really watched him wrestle, so I didn't really know a whole lot about him. I'd seen like little bits, but I knew who he was. I'd never been a fan, never really watched him wrestle, never watched wrestling around the time that he was big. And I just didn't care. I was just like, oh, this is bad. Like he's gonna get smashed. And when he did get smashed, I now care even less because I know he's not some secret killer. And it's like, what can the UFC do? Like they need to bring in some absolute bum, like a super bum to get him a win. And you've got to think that sense for him to win and then fight again and lose, then just get wiped out again. Because they're going to be paying him, like they paid him what, $500,000 last time?
No, it was more than that. It was more than that, if I remember correctly, including the pay-per-view. Yeah, I'm going to say he walked away with something like, I think it was like 2 million or something, or 1.5.
Fucker, to get your ass
but
whipped.
It doesn't make sense for him to lose again. That's
because I know that he made more than Stipe did.
Huh.
Stipe headlined that main event.
Yeah, easily. Overeem versus Stipe was.
Yeah, that was the fake. The Phantom tap out. The Phantom tap out.
Okay, how about this?
Like,
I got the perfect opponent. I got the perfect opponent. Someone that CM Punk may possibly be able to beat. All right, hear me out.
Don't say
hear me out.
I got it. He's gonna come through and fuck you up.
Yeah. No. I got it. Phil Baroni.
Bro,
I think Phil Baroni loses CM Punk. Legit.
Can we
just make sure you let CM Punk juice? Let CM Punk juice though, because we know Phil's on some shit.
And which Phil are we talking about? Oh right. Okay, Baroni.
Baroni.
I was going to say that. Baroni. Don't say that about CM Punk, sir. Don't say that about CM Punk. Jesus.
Baroni's taken everything there is.
He's on everything.
He's just.
Yeah.
When are we going to get that? When are we going to get that ultimate league where it's just juiced up guys just fucking? Don't say Rising. Like
it's called Pride. It was around for 10 years.
Yeah, we missed it, and now we just missed it, man. We didn't know what we had at the moment. Okay, had we known what we had, that shit would still be around. UFC would be like the UFC would be second rate. They'd be Bellator to Pride. All right, none of us would be watching UFC.
Where do you think if Pride was in this social media era and it was at the pinnacle of it was like all the great fighters that it had and the UFC had its great fighters, so both had the equal footing. Do you think like Pride would be bigger, even though it's in Japan? Even though it's in Japan.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. It was a real cultural thing in Japan, and like Japanese culture is so fad based. So things go like up here, and then next they're down here, and there's no real reason for it. They just move on to the next thing. I mean, they did for a few years. They did joint events on New Year's Eve in Pride, and Pride and K1 basically did a joint card, and they had 80,000 people in the stadium to watch it live, and over half the population of Japan, like not half the people who had TVs, half the population of Japan watched those events on TV. So on New Year's in Japan, it's like a real family event. So whereas we all go out and get smashed in the evening, with them it's a real family event during the day. So they have like an X Factor style singing program on one of the big TV stations, and then it's always been fighting on the third channel. And that 1 year, it's like half the fucking country was watching Bob Sapp fight.
Do you think
in the West? I don't think.
Do you think with the modern social media thing and like it being more accessible, because obviously it was, like dodgy, illegal, super illegal streams and, videotapes and whatnot weeks later, months later. Do you think in this modern era of technology and like social media, like I say, it would be bigger because obviously it's more accessible?
Maybe. I mean, obviously it depends on which fighters they get. I mean, it was very much aimed at the Japanese market. I think a lot of modern fans wouldn't have stood for the shenanigans that went on and the ridiculous mismatches that went on.
Say that yet we watch UFC. Ray Borg versus Demetrius Johnson. Get the fuck out of it.
But you've got the time difference as well. Like Saturday night in America is like really early Sunday morning, so they've had to be running their events. So like, I think when the UFC did a live show over there, they ran an event at like 8 a.m. and people literally couldn't get public transport into Tokyo. So the event was half empty until like the last 5 fights because no one could get there. So it was difficult. I mean, they used to put Pride events on pay-per-view in the US. Originally, it was on a week delay, but then they did like a simultaneous broadcasting, and no one watched it because it was a stupid time. And even when they had guys like Don Fry and Ken Shamrock and Mark Coleman, it was way past when these guys could be considered the best guys in the world. And the American audience didn't really care for the top guys who were like Crow Cop and Fedor, and obviously the Japanese aces like Gomi. They just had no appeal. So it's tough to say how big it would be. I think for like the hardcore fans, we'd still be loving it, but I don't think it would be anywhere near where people would say, no, it's competing with the UFC in the American market.
That's interesting.
I think it has to do, it would have to compete with boxing too. And boxing was kind of big at the time still.
I was just meaning if you took it and put it in now, like if you put it into this.
Oh, now.
Because like it's a totally different beast now. It's more accessible. You can watch it on a week, like a weekend and whatnot. You can obviously watch it on your phone now. Do you know what I mean? If you really wanted to, you could live stream it on YouTube or whatever you wanted to put it on, or like a Fox fight, a UFC fight pass, not UFC fight pass, but you know what I mean, like some form of streaming app. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like fighting.
I think if they had the money to attract certain fighters, it'd be difficult to say that people wouldn't follow. I don't know. Trying to think of like top flight Americans at the moment, like maybe Miocic, maybe like Daniel Cormier, John Jones. If they got a few guys like that, like they kind of, because when they had a great heavyweight division, they took a lot of the UFC's top guys. Like they took Coleman and Kerr, a few guys like that, and people fans were like, oh, what's this show in Japan? Like maybe if they could get a few top level UFC guys, top level American UFC guys, maybe guys like 5 years ago, guys like Hendricks and Weidman, when they looked like they were going to be the next big thing. Maybe some fans would fall over. But
you know what? Conor McGregor's going to open up his own promotion in Japan called NYC Notorious Yakuza Championship.
Stop it. Stop it.
Knocking out bombs, and he's literally going to sell out every arena.
Yeah. Speaking of Conor, you guys see the trailer for his film?
Is it the documentary doing lining up? I haven't seen it yet.
Yeah, it's on it's like I forget. It has its own fucking Twitter. It's at Notorious the Film or Notorious Film, something like that.
I don't know what.
I'm happy it wasn't a movie. It's like a documentary.
Yeah.
If it was gonna be a movie, I was like, Jesus, that's gonna be awful, because that's what I first heard, it was gonna be a movie. And now that I saw it's a documentary, I'm like, thank you. I can do that. I do not want to see another.
It's gonna be in cinema.
I don't ever want to see another Jose Aldo biopic. That was god awful. Did you guys watch that bullshit on Netflix?
I've not even seen it. Don't
even worry about it. Don't even worry. All right, I take it back. Hold on, I take it back. There's like 3 fine ass girls in that movie. Fine as fuck. outside of that, dog shit movie.
God, mate, I've got the internet. I'm fine.
There you go.
He's just listening to his voice on loop on a Boston Crab.
Eating it.
Hey, I'd do the same. I'm not gonna lie. The other return that we were talking about anyway, or alluding to anyway, was Rumble Johnson returning to heavyweight.
I didn't know that you could not make money on weed in Canada. I feel like that's the reason. I think that whole thing went to shit. And he's like, fuck, I better get these fights going again. I couldn't sell this weed over there, man. Shit. I better get my ass back in a fight.
I think it's
get some money and move my ass to California, where it's gonna be recreational in 2018.
I think with Canadians, they're already chiller, so they don't need it.
They don't need weed. Yeah, and the market's not great over there, Rumble. You should have thought about that shit. Head your ass to California, not Denver, or not Colorado. That thing's full. Yeah, California's your best bet, dude.
I can't believe that you wouldn't test the market before going.
I wonder. I would love to hear the real reason. He's like, I think he said it wasn't because of that. I think that's what he said, but I don't buy that bullshit at all. Because when he left, he said, "I'm an athlete. I'm not a fighter." That's a big difference right there.
It's like hearing Johnny Hendricks turn around and saying, I've no correlation with me owning a Rib Shack joint and being overweight. There's just no correlation.
Yeah, what's they say about never getting high in your own supply?
Exactly.
Smashing those ribs, man.
Dude, how do you miss 185? I'm still amazed that happened. I wasn't surprised. I was just amazed at how he missed that weight badly too.
He was amazed. What
the fuck I was on weight?
Fucking Rumble Johnson missed 185, didn't he, when he fought Belfort?
Oh,
Yeah.
that guy had Rumble has no business fighting under 205. Even 205 looks like a little bit of a fucking pull for him.
Yeah, he went from 170 to missing. Didn't he come in at like 201 or something stupid like that? Like, he's
Yeah,
like 11
ridiculous.
pounds over.
Don't you
That-
think
yeah.
it's scary to think we're talking about two guys that both competed in the same weight category, both returning? One's on about competing now at heavyweight, and the other one's competing at 170.
Well, Rumble's done heavyweight a few times already, hasn't he? He fought
Arlovsky.
at heavyweight and a few others. I don't think he looked great as a heavyweight, to be honest. Like, he fought, I think he fought that Tony Lopez guy, I think, who's like a kind of a good journeyman. And Arlovsky, you would think someone like Rumble would be able to just smash Arlovsky's lights out, but didn't really do anything in that against Arlovsky. Like, I don't know. I think he was a bit sluggish, maybe. Like, he's never been the fastest guy, but you know, he needs that bit of snap in the first couple of rounds. You know, he might not have to worry about cutting weight, but yeah, if he's carrying an extra 20 pounds of muscle around with him, it's just going to slow him down even more.
True, but he's going to hit 10 times harder, and that scares the shit out of me.
Yeah, it's
Yeah, but when you're up against guys like Overeem and Miocic, are they going to be bothered if you can hit a bit harder? Probably not.
I agree with you in context, but then I think to myself, people like Derek Lewis, for example, you know, a big guy, not the most athletic guy, Mark Hunt, not the most athletic guy, big guy, but they know how to hit you. And nobody wants to get hit by Derek Lewis. Nobody wants to get hit by Mark Hunt. Nobody wants to get hit by Ron Nelson. These are all guys that we go, not the most athletic, but these guys hit hella hard. And we've seen how hard Rumble hits at 205. So that translate into a higher weight category would be very interesting.
Yeah, I think the thing is, like, what's he going to? Because I don't remember what he weighed in when he was a heavyweight. So is he going to be weighing in like, you know, like Couture, like comfortably like 220 or something? Because there's a big difference between a 220 guy and then a guy who cuts to make 265. Yeah, I mean that's ridiculous. That's the biggest weight gap in MMA still. You know, you could be 240 and you could weigh 40 pounds less than the guy you're fighting on the night. And when you're that big and that heavy, that's when size really does start to count. I mean, you look at you know, fights like Lesnar versus Couture. You know, he bullied it. He bullied Couture, who was arguably a better clinch wrestler, and Lesnar clipped him once, and the guy's done. You know, you used to see it a lot in the K1 tournaments. You know, you'd have guys like Jerome Labana, who, you know, perhaps wasn't the most amazing classical kickboxer, but he would beat guys who were technically better, who were like 210 pounds.
Yeah.
Bob Sapp beat Ernesto Hoost twice. I mean, he got a bit of help from the referee on both occasions, but he was able to King Kong Ernesto Hoost twice, which makes me sick to my stomach, by the way.
Yo, Rumble.
I still have bad dreams about that.
Yeah, Rumble came in at 230.2 for the Arlovsky fight.
That's a solid weight, man.
But Kane comes in at 240. Kane comes in at 240 with like 5 inches of height.
Yeah, but Kane's not around no more. Like,
No. But I'm just giving you an example as far as size boys, though, right? Like, how tall is Rumble? Like, he's like 6 foot, maybe.
I thought he was like 6'2", 6'3".
How tall is Kane? Kane's like about the same height, right?
About the same height. I think they're about the same height. Because he looked bigger than DC. It looked vastly.
Kane looks like a little more like he looks better at 240 than Johnson looks at 230. I think, because I remember that fight with Arlovsky. You would have thought that he would have finished that shit pretty quick.
Yeah,
we've got to put into factor experience as well with that.
Right. It's a good point.
Do you know what I mean? Because he has gone on a more of a tear at the latter stages of his career. What I will say is this, though. I don't personally think that he's going to, you know, he could, let's just put that out there, he could knock out everybody, you know, be this behemoth and run through people. Because we've seen it with, you know, Francis Ngannou, we've seen it with Derek Lewis. We've seen it with all these different guys that are coming and just cleaning up shop. So it's plausible that we could see Rumble come through and, you know, smash 2 or 3 guys in that top 15, moving up to say maybe the top 8. Once you get to the guys who, like you said, big, heavy, naturally bigger guys who can wrestle, that's when it's going to become an issue for Rumble, because we've already seen at 205 against, you know, DC, who's, yes, he's one of the best wrestlers that we've seen at these high weight categories. But the fact still remains is that's at 205. So imagine a guy who's got 40, 30 pounds just standardly bigger than him. He's going to manhandle him, in my opinion.
Yeah, I want to see if he can. I mean, I think Mark Hunt would be a very good first test for him to see how he deals with a big guy that can hit. I think the true test of whether he's going to be successful at heavyweight long term is if he can beat a guy like Dos Santos.
Yeah.
Because Dos Santos is a bigger guy who's maybe not as quick, but has the boxing skills. You know, he's not going to get hit better by many guys than Dos Santos. So it's if he can take those hits at heavyweight and keep going. That's going to be the turning point for me. And like you said, the wrestling as well. I mean, he's kind of lucky at the moment because there's not really any like pure wrestling machines in the heavyweight division. I mean, Kane's not there, like you say. It's not like he's having to deal with like Carwin, Velasquez, Lesnar, Todd Duffy, guys like that. They're just not really.
I'm just saying, I think Randy could have ragdolled his ass.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. I mean, at the end of the day, like he's an interesting fighter. I think he's quite divisive because he's had the whole like domestic violence thing, and you know, like DC's quite rightly said this week. You know, he's sort of retired because he got his ass kicked. Yeah. He wasn't liking the weight cuts, and now he's coming back because there's money to be made. You know, people are going to think he's he's not. His heart isn't really in it, and his heart wasn't in that last DC fight. You know, he beat himself in that one. So it's going to be interesting to see how people react to him. I think he's going to have to come back and win very decisively a few times to get people back on his side.
Anthony Rumble Johnson looked like he couldn't wait to tap against DC.
I agree.
Like he's like, I can't wait to tap. Fuck this shit. I mean, even his corner was, and people, yeah. He's like, I'm warming up. Make sure they hear this shit when it hits the mat. But the thing is, it's like his coaches were like, I don't know, we were okay with Rumble. It wasn't that he quit, whatever. But after the fight, he's like, where are my coaches at? They fucking left his ass at the cage. That means something. And the coaches can try to sugarcoat it all they want to. And they might need to because they got other fighters in their stable they need to work with. But that was real. They fucking bailed on him knowing that he quit.
I think the problem is, and this is the thing, at the end of the day, that's why there's always question marks for me over DC, because there's one close fight and then there's two where there's really question marks around it, where you go, well, one guy weren't ready for you and it were really short notice in a totally different frame and different body type and different style of wrestling. And then you had another where he was ready to leave. And that's the unfortunate thing that I find for DC. I don't think it's his fault. You know, he goes out there and he puts on a performance and he does what he does to the best of his abilities. But stuff like that, that's why it annoys me. We spoke about this the other day on the last episode, me and Eddie, but this is why it annoys me with DC, because like he comes out and he talks sideways about like Rumble now, and people like Rumble. The MMA community like Rumble. They don't have a problem with Rumble. He's one of the entertaining, exciting fighters that we wanted to see come back. We never wanted to see him leave. The problem is though, is that people do have a problem with DC and him doing this cookie cut, you know, dad routine and then coming out and talking like this. It just doesn't help his cause. I think the main reason people didn't pick Gustafsson for that next fight and they picked Ozdemir.
Yeah, well, he picked on. He did the poll, right?
Yeah, he did the poll, okay. So he didn't pick the guy because obviously,
right.
But the point being is though is they want to see him get knocked the fuck out. Then we've seen Gustafsson, and I think that Gustafsson won that fight against DC. That's here nor there. It doesn't make a difference. He won, did DC, so it's whatever. But people want to see this knockout artist potentially knock out DC. They're not voting for it because of any other reason. Let's be truthful.
I mean, fans want crazy shit. They want excitement, and he's delivered that a few times now. Fans will take one as a fluke, but since you've got 2, 3 in a row, all of a sudden you're that guy. And we've seen it with, most of the highlight reel guys of the years, like guys like Liddell, guys like Belfort, they've always strung a few together. And then obviously fans are going to get behind that because, the majority of the UFC's fan base are year-old males who want to see guys get knocked out. fans are becoming more educated to the grappling side of things and the wrestling side of things, sure. But at the end of the day, when you go on social media on a Sunday, you're not seeing replays of takedowns and transitions and back takes and chokes. You're seeing the big knockouts.
It has to be something spectacular when it comes to the grappling aspect. I recently saw
like the Boston Crab.
The Boston Crab obviously is the most recent one. But somebody posted up recently of like your favorite moments in like MMA, actually in MMA. And the guy's name eludes me, but I think it was last year, and he hits a spine buster on the guy who weighs like 20 pounds heavier than him because he came in overweight, and he said, it doesn't matter, I'll fight him anyway. And he gets him in the clinch and lifts him up, and he legit spine busters him like he's fucking Peru. I forget the name of the guy. Yeah.
Oh, man.
Taking it back.
I'm sure he gives him the finger as he's getting off of him, but it was from a smaller promotion in the States like this time last year. But yeah, that's like, you don't see anything other than knockouts unless it's something special like a Boston Crab or a spine buster. Pretty much you have to do something out of WWE if you're going to get like any kind of recognition. The day I see a Stone Cold Stunner in the Octagon, I quit. I'm done. I'm out.
Oh, yeah, dude, who would pull that off? Who could pull that off? I feel like Jason Knight could do it. I feel like Jason Knight could pull it off. It
has to be somebody who, I don't know, it has to be somebody really quick though, because you're going to think they've got to get that turnaround.
You know, what was the other? Who's the
what?
Who's that fella that does the fuck? They make YouTube videos of this guy. It's like, watch out, watch out, watch out! It's like it's WWE guy.
Randy Orton.
The RKO, right? Could anybody pull that off in MMA? Is that possible?
I did see. I'll never probably be able to find it because it was one of the millions that got made of it. But after Holly Holmes KO'd Ronda Rousey with the head kick, and she's waiting.
Yeah,
I saw somebody put the RKO with Randy Orton RKO's Ronda Rousey, and that was one of the sickest things that I've ever seen, if I'm being honest. Oh, I still love you, Ronda. It's all good. Don't worry about it.
Man, who'd be a professional fighter? You know, you leave it all in the cage, you get your head kicked off, and then you've got dickheads on the internet. The RKO.
You know what, right? This is the problem that we face, right? And I tweeted about it the other day. I respect 99.9% of all fighters because they fucking go out there and everything they want in life, they go out and they get punched in the face, elbowed, knee kicked, and all that nasty stuff, all just to try and make ends meet and get to a place where the family can be set. The other 0.1% that bitch and moan and cry, they can eat a big bowl of dicks with no milk, no spoon, no nothing. I'm sorry, but it just annoys the hell out of me. I'm sorry. I saw literally on that day about 3 or 4 different fighters begging for stuff that they were owed, and I was like, you're not owed anything. Like, everybody's doing the same as you. Cyborg was one of the main factors of that, seen as, you know, it kind of went an eerie silence. Then I'll throw names out there. I don't give a fuck. But Chris Cyborg was one of them because she was tweeting about all the. I say her boyfriend was tweeting about all the different fucking things that, you know, like her last event did, and one of their other events did it. It did this numbers. It did that numbers. I'm like, you weren't like headlining, so how was that you? That wasn't you. You didn't bring everybody through. And like, I deserve this and I deserve that. It's like, you don't deserve shit. You haven't beaten any.
Yeah. Plus, you've got a ropey history with drugs as well.
Exactly.
Like, do you know what I mean? Why should people put faith in you?
My other thing is though, is who the fuck is she beating? Like, who is she? Like, that's my thing. Like, I know people always go on about the Gina thing and stuff like that and all that kind of stuff. It's like, and that's fine, but like, what year was that?
Forever ago.
2007, 2008?
At least.
Come on, man. You're talking nearly a decade. Can we get over it? Like, could you imagine if somebody say like Alistair Overeem? He was like, I deserve a title shot. Why? Because I beat up Brock Lesnar. Like, you'd be like, who gives a fuck? Do you know what I mean?
Mate, Gina Carano wasn't exactly fucking mint anyway. Do you know what I mean? She career by missing weight pretty much every time she had a major fight and beating up like 125, 135 pound girls.
I am happy though that Mackenzie Dern's decided to fight at 125. That makes me really happy.
That being said, Mackenzie Dern and Gina Carano can bring their fine thick asses over here. I am cool with that. more cushion for the pushing. I am so down. Just in case they give a shit. I'm just saying.
What did you guys see the thing about Andrea Lee, by the way, being her fight being postponed literally the day of her fight being announced?
That literally they announced it, and an hour later, no, it's not happening. She's out. The whole USADA thing is fucking crazy.
It wasn't USADA. It was the UFC. It's the UFC that's prevented it. It's not USADA.
Oh, I thought it was because she wasn't in the pool long enough.
No, it's apparently to do. It's apparently to do with the UFC. It's not a USADA law. It's not their ruling that they do that.
Oh, but it's their like framework that they put in place, isn't it? Like if you've had a previous drug test failure, you have to be in the pool
exactly
for 6 months before you're eligible to fight.
Exactly. Even though she's had 4 more fights since that, and I think that was it a diuretic? It was for when she got popped.
Yep.
So she got popped with that. Exactly. Because I remember having it on the podcast, and she turned around and said like it was literally like that, and nobody told me that I weren't allowed to use it. I'd used it before, and then it's one of those kind of things. Either way, 4 fights on, and she's getting pulled for it, and you're just like, come on. But I'm excited for that 125 division.
Like the UFC, how did they not figure that out? Like you say, that's their rule.
Yeah. Who
has fucking released that fight, signed that fight, and not gone, hang on a second.
Mm-hmm.
Because the weird thing is, though, is because I was reading a thread about it all, and somebody was saying like if you turn around and you're a fighter and you've retired, they can waiver that 6 months. They don't have to do that 6 months if you come back. You can just come straight back in. But depending on,
well, they bent the rule for Brock Lesnar, didn't they?
That's what it was. That's
they
why they've implemented that now, so that if you've ever had a fail, then you have to do it. But if you haven't and you've retired and you want to come back, they can just say come back. Because it was Tim Anthony who retired and came back.
Listen, at the end of the day, if that rule somehow stopped Conor McGregor main eventing, you'd be damn sure they're gonna waive it. If there's money involved, something that's legally backed by the athletic commission, they'll find a way around it. They'll come up with something.
You best believe Kavanagh's taking his dick out and pissing in a cup for Conor. Believe that. Like, no doubt about it. There's gonna be some fucking shady piss test being taken there, bro. I'm not saying that they're shady. I'm just saying, believe if there was a fucking $100 million, dollar pay-per-view that was just around the corner, and it was Conor's last ever fight, and he announced the week of, this is my last ever fight against Nate Diaz and all that kind of stuff. There is no way on God's green earth that piss test is coming through hot. Not happening.
They'd have that lookalike guy do the piss test for him.
Hey, yeah, no, Dana White himself will pee in a cup for Conor, for that matter.
I don't think they want Dana's pee in a fucking drug test, man.
Yeah, I was thinking the same.
Yeah.
Yo, he got fired
straight from the test tube.
Yeah. Oh, jeez.
I'm just thinking of who's the people you'd most like, the most unwanted people you'd want to do a piss taste for you, taste for you.
John Jones all day.
John Jones, Dana White, and probably Brock Lesnar.
Okay, as far as PDs go, Phil Baroni.
Phil Baroni.
They would test Phil Baroni and come back. They would just take it and just look at it and be like, you've been popped. What the fuck? You didn't even test it. Yeah. No, you can tell. What would I pop for? Everything. Literally everything.
It looks like
it's bright blue. Your pee is bright blue. What's going on here?
It's actually blue. It'd be funny as shit. I'd be a Phil Baroni fan in a heartbeat if that happened. I would buy his next fight shirt if that fucking happened. If Phil Baroni got busted and it was blue pee, I'd be like, yes.
It'd have to be Phil Ballooney, surely.
All right. Oh shit.
Oh my days.
Oh man, I watched his fight against Ikehisa Minowa at Bushido 7 earlier today. What a fucking ridiculous fight that was.
The last fight, the grappling thing, the grappling one he just did, right?
No, he was talking about the Bushido.
Oh, never mind. All
right. How did he get on it? I didn't watch it this week.
AJ fucked his world up.
I think he lost.
Baroni lost. Baroni's not a grappler, dude. Not in the level like a grappling only kind of guy.
Surprise, motherfucker!
Yeah,
come on.
He done a bit of like high school wrestling or something. I think he's done some grappling comps before, but he just sandbag guys. He's just so fucking big.
yeah.
But yeah, he's not a man built for grappling, is he?
That's like me sitting around and saying, like, I used to
haymakers for 3 minutes and then gassing out.
Like me saying I used to play basketball in high school, then just going and playing in the NBA. You'll be fine. It's fine. Just crack ahead. It's like that's so messed up. I don't know.
He had some great fights back in the day though. Like when he fought like Evan Tanner and Matt Linland and Amar Sulov.
So would you if you were on the same shit like he was on back then? You'd have great fights too, bro. Like, let's be serious right now.
I tell you what, I'm competing in a little under 2 months. Give me the Phil Brony cocktail. I bet you I'll beat everybody.
Literally the cocktail.
Yeah.
Just a blue piss.
Yeah, just a blue piss. I'll take care of that. It will be good. I'll come back with like 8 gold medals. No problem.
Oh my god.
There's 16 abs.
Yeah, I look at Gordon Ryan in fucking Heartbeat. You seen Gordon Ryan just a few months ago and then Gordon Ryan now, and you tell me that's fucking real? I'm a Gordon Ryan fan. I'm a fan of this motherfucker, and get the fuck out of here. You know what I mean? That being said, he dominated ADCC. Bad motherfucker, man.
He's a bad motherfucker, 100%. There's no doubt about it, to be quite honest.
Yeah.
When's the next EBI? That's what I want to know, because I'm not down for Submission Underground bullshit. I thought Submission Underground was going to be one of those things where it's like, yeah, we're going to compete. We're going to really make this look professional. We're going to get like some special super fights for old MMA guys and girls. And then the next thing I see this fucking card and I was like, I'm done. I can't do this bullshit. I'm sorry. I tried.
I don't know. I mean, with the Chael Sonnen angle still bothers me. You know what I mean?
What do you mean?
The fact that Chael Sonnen's the one running that shit or headline or being the face of it.
That doesn't bother me.
It bothers me because he's not a grappler. Like he's a wrestler, but he's not like a jiu-jitsu guy. You know what I mean? Like if you would I mean, look, it's slowly but surely starting to get there. Look, I give it to him. I give him all the credit. Everyone that's like challenged him, he's like, yeah, I'll fucking grapple. I don't give a shit. You know what I mean? Like, he's willing to get in there, but goddamn.
That's because in fairness, he's not there to really kind of implement the grappling jiu-jitsu stuff. He's there to kind of make it an entertaining show. Like he's more of like the advisor for the production and kind of like how he wants it to look and how he wants it to feel, like the concept of it. He's not he's not there to, elevate jiu-jitsu. Don't get it twisted. Like he's gone, EBI's making money. How can I make this look a little bit like pro wrestling, but real?
Yeah, that's a rough one. That's true.
Yeah, let's be honest. He ain't trying to fucking elevate jiu-jitsu, bro. Like it's like comparing Ryzen to, I would have said the UFC, but you know what I'm saying. Like that's what it is. Like it's a show. Is Submission Underground. That's how it feels anyway.
Yeah, I know. We did the companion for that EBI show. That feels way more legit, if for lack of a better word. You know what I mean? As far as that. Yeah, way more legit. If we did one for Submission Underground, we'd be sitting there going, "What the fuck is going on right now?" Like,
come on, it was so bad. Like even all the fights, barring the last 3 or 4 fights of the last Submission Underground, not this Submission Underground, the one previous to it. The 4 fights on the main card were okay. They were fun. They were entertaining. But all of the ones on like the quote unquote prelims and stuff like that, Jesus Christ, it just looked like amateur hour. And I'm not saying that because I'm, high level or any kind of bullshit like that. But like when I was watching them, they looked like no different than some of the guys that I've seen that I roll with, you know what I mean? And people who I've watched, who it just didn't feel as if like they were trying to put on a professional show. To me, it seems like they're trying to capitalize off the success of EBI and make it a spectacle, though. They're trying to make it pro wrestling meets jiu-jitsu.
It's to me, I think.
Sorry.
Go ahead. No, my bad. Go ahead, dude.
I was gonna say I'm not a massive grappling guy myself. And I've watched like Polaris and a few of these grappling shows. I watch Polaris because I work with Josh who does the commentary for it. So I always like to kind of support that. But like, if you're saying that like kind of the level on the undercards and that is quite low, it's going to be interesting to see where they take it, because from my understanding of these kind of events, they're very much just centered to just appeal to the grappling market. I know they're not big on like having big crowds there to watch it live, and it's very much like just for the BJJ crew and just for the submission grappling crew. And it's like, how's that going to be sustainable? Because I know some of these shows are paying out like reasonable prize money.
Yep.
So they must have investors to cover that at the moment, because they're obviously not making it in ticket sales and streaming rights, because they're on stuff like some of them are on Fight Pass, and they don't pay a whole lot of money for streaming rights. If they're going to at some point say, well, it's going to be a sustainable enterprise and we're going to make a spectator sport out of it, they can't have shit on the undercard. They've got to have entertaining shit the whole way through. So they need people to be there. They need to sell 1,000 tickets.
I think that's.
I think sold like 500 tickets for the last one in London.
I think,
which I suppose is good, but great.
I think that's why it does a lot better to EBI, because obviously it does that auditorium, which I think it holds around about 800 to 1,000 people. I know they're big sponsors, like really heavy jiu-jitsu sponsors that are really invested in it. They let them do video ads during the show. So obviously that's, the advertising space during one of the big, jiu-jitsu competitions is going to obviously count for a lot. And I don't know how true this is. This is not something that I'm privy to. This is only from, stuff that I've read. But I know that EBI is one of the biggest shows, like as far as out-and-out shows, as far as getting views for when it's aired on its first airing. It's one of the bigger shows on the Fight Pass. I don't know to what degree, but I know that it's one of the upper echelon shows that they have on there, because that's why they always try to keep it on the Fight Pass. So
yeah. It's interesting, man, because we were having like a brainstorm meeting at FCC last weekend on the Friday before the event of what we can do to make it more financially viable. And one of the things that we put forward was maybe trying to incorporate grappling into it, because the guy who owns FCC also does a grappling show as well.
Yeah.
And obviously it's a very different market, but he gets a lot of money in sponsorship on the grappling side of things, whereas all the money from the MMA side of things comes from ticket sales. We've had a few big sponsors over the years, but it's just dried up because they don't get much return. But I suppose it's a much smaller, more focused and ready to invest market on the BJJ side of things. So we're wondering, do we chuck a couple of very high profile BJJ super fights that we can pay a big purse for? Maybe get someone like Mark Goddard on, for example, who's a known name and an excellent grappler, and maybe try and do things that way. My idea was actually to have some of the the night fights that they had in M1, where they had like the full suit. I want that shit. It's funny actually. The UK team is actually about half an hour down the road from where I live. So my brother and I were like, right, we're getting right down there, getting involved in this. But it's like $4,000 for a full suit of armor. So I was just like, that's not happening.
Hey, fuck it, dude. Hey, medieval grappling. Hey, wearing that shit, you get into EBI rules and just watch hilarity. It's only on YouTube. You can't pay for that shit. Just watch it happen.
Like, how do you submit someone?
Exactly.
I was just thinking of going like full budget, just getting like a bucket on my head and a load of cricket pads. Just see what they say.
American football gear and a bucket on your head, and you'd be sorted, mate.
You would never choke anybody ever. You'd have to. It'll be in his
plunger.
Just make sure. Just make sure you pull guard. That's all I'm saying. But additional to that, though, we'll get into the UFC card this weekend, UFC 216. Where is it this weekend? Because I haven't actually seen where it's actually going to be.
It's Vegas, isn't it?
Is it actually in Vegas?
Well,
I'm sure it's in Vegas.
Yeah, 216 is Vegas.
Right. I was just making sure because I didn't know. I didn't know if it was in Vegas or if they said that they were going to still be in Vegas. So I didn't know if it was one of those kind of.
No, I think it is. I've read a few things on Twitter about like some of the journos saying like it's been really weird covering it this week because usually everyone there is in like party mode. All the fans are in, all the fighters are getting jacked up, and there's obviously a bit of a somber mood in Vegas, as you would expect. So it must be a weird experience this week.
I was going to say, it must have an eerie feel.
Oh, 100%.
The thing is, though, is like we were saying in the last episode, it's a beautiful thing that the UFC have said that they're going to put up $1 million to the families and friends and whatnot of people that have been affected by the tragic events that obviously happened over this past week. You know, it's like Eddie said in the last episode, it's horrible that stuff like this happens and we all band together, but it's kind of beautiful in the sense as well that we actually see that, you know, people are willing to band together in these, like, you know, dark times and whatnot. But, you know, I think that I'm kind of proud of the UFC, not just for the sponsorship kind of stuff, not sponsorship, the donation part of me. But I'm also proud that they are still going to put on this show. So again, this is one of the things that I always worry about when people don't do what they were planning to do because of, you know, certain things, events happening. Because if I remember correctly, they were going to cancel one of the early UFCs after the 9/11 events. And if I remember correctly, that's the one where Tito comes out with the flag and he comes stomping down with it. And it's an iconic moment. And I feel that, like, things like that are very important, not just for the companies and for the fighters, but I think it's very important for the people, especially just from an outside perspective. I know with stuff that's ever happened over here, we're very similar in that manner. And I think it's important for people to show unity and show we will overcome. And I'm
absolutely,
stoked.
Absolutely. You know, I traveled into London and went on the tube a few weeks ago when we had that little terrorist incident on the tube where some guy had done like a little firebomb thing. I know there was a Cage Warriors event earlier this year that took place, I think, just a week after. You know, there was the whole thing with the guys running around with machetes in London.
That crazy shit. Yeah.
And it's like, well, you know, what do you do? Like, when you start changing plans, I mean, I understand changing certain things to be sensitive, but when you start changing your plans, that's exactly what these dickheads want at the end of the day. I mean, I remember when 9/11 happened. I think it was a Monday, like a Monday morning, and I remember they did the WWF Monday Night Raw thing on the Monday night, and obviously it wasn't in New York, but you know, all the sporting events that week were cancelled, and I thought it was kind of cool. I'm sure you can still get the video on YouTube. Yeah, they started the show and they came out, and everyone, like all the good guys and the bad guys, all stood next to each other.
Yeah,
and then Vince McMahon came out and he basically did the speech, and he was like, "Fuck you guys, we're gonna have a good time. We're not gonna change a single thing about what we're doing." That's the beauty of living in the free world. We're not scared. I think that's a fucking huge message to send out.
Yeah, if I remember correctly, that was I actually watched the episode of, I think it was Raw, right? It was the first episode of Raw. I watched that episode of Raw, and I remember thinking, like, nobody else has done this. Like, nobody else has gathered in this size of group since the attacks. And I thought it was pretty. I thought it was exceptional. I thought it was a big fuck you to the people that did this shit. But it was also sending a message to everybody, like, hey, we ain't backing down from nobody. You know, keep living your life. So I think this weekend, letting the fights go on as they are, while a little weird and maybe a little uncomfortable for a lot of people, like, I'm going to be watching it feeling a little weird about the fact that I'm watching something out of Vegas, right? Just, I wonder what it feels like to be in that building, knowing I'm about to watch an event where just a few, you know, not even a mile away, you know, like, you know, 59 plus people lost their lives, you know, in a shooting. It's fucking craziness. But I think it's important to go. I'll just keep going with it, right? That, you know, knowing fully well what happened, but still with that spirit of, yeah, but we're not backing down to nobody.
I think when you have all of those guys, I do the same thing. If I'm the UFC, I have all the guys just at the beginning, before it even starts, just when there's a fair few fans in there, and you do a moment of solidarity where, you know, you show that a unity amongst each other, you know, of the brethren that you are, do you know what I mean, and a brotherhood, and show that, you know, no matter what, we overcome. And I think that's very important.
Yeah. I understand that there is going to be some sort of dedication thing at the start of the pay-per-view. So that's fucking awesome.
That's what I heard too.
We'll dive right into it anyway, and we'll get to. I want to do it reverse because we always kind of go up the card, and I think it's important to get straight into the meat. Let's get straight into the meat of it all. Let's talk about Tony Ferguson and Kevin Lee. Just start that off because it's. For me, it seemed like it was going to be one of those subjects where, and one of those fights where we looked and we were kind of going to go, You know, it's kind of the fight, but is it the fight because this person could have fought this person, that person shouldn't be there, this, that, and the other. But now it's kind of turned into this thing where it's manifested where now you've got Tony Ferguson, who's kind of becoming a polarizing character where some people vastly hate him. Some people really like him. Some people are intrigued by him. Some people want to see him lose. There's so many variables with him. And then obviously we're looking at Kevin Lee, who, like Eddie said in the last episode, could potentially, you know, if he smashes through Tony Ferguson, who's one of the most dominant guys at 155 in recent years, you know, he could end up becoming a star in his own right and potentially could become a star for the UFC. And this fight has gone from, this isn't the fight we wanted. We wanted Khabib, Tony Ferguson. And now we're seeing this massive, massive fight that personally I don't believe should be the main event, with it being the interim title. It should be Demetrius against Ray Borg, just my opinion. But now we've got this really interesting main event.
Yeah, I mean, it's always good when you have polarizing characters in the main event. You know, like people say, "Oh, Tony Ferguson's becoming the bad guy." I mean, if you go back to when he was on The Ultimate Fighter, he was the bad guy. Like, you know, he talks some like over the line shit on that Ultimate Fighter. You know, he was line stepping, to quote the Chappelle Show. A habitual line stepper.
Line stepper. Goddamn, Charlie. Rest in peace, Charlie Murphy.
Yeah. Yeah, he was. You know, he overstepped the mark a couple of times. You know, that was pretty much out of order. But you know, he to his credit, he's kind of come back and he's won people over by putting on dominant performances, exciting performances. He's a guy that people want to watch just because he fights like a fucking badass, and that's what people want to see at the end of the day. I'm not sold on Kevin Lee yet. It's great that he can talk the talk. I don't think he has beaten the level of guy I would expect to see a lightweight contender in the UFC beat. You know, it's always been the strongest / second strongest division behind welterweight. I would have liked to have seen him beat a couple more guys, but it's a circumstance thing, you know. I'm 100% certain that this fight would have been Khabib. You know, if he wasn't having his issues. There's McGregor as well, if he wasn't off doing boxing. So it's one of those things. It's not. It's, you know, it's certainly not the worst fight we could be watching. But I'm not sold on Lee yet. I think he's going to get smashed. I actually think it's going to be a real one-sided beatdown.
What are you thinking, Eddie?
I'm thinking that Kevin Lee needs to come out and starch this motherfucker. Right, he has to. I think Tony Ferguson has more. He's so funky, for lack of a better term. Like he has so many different ways to beat Kevin Lee. Kevin Lee's a fucking bad motherfucker. Don't get me wrong. His striking is solid. Yeah, his ground game is solid as well. I think he came up a little too quick, but if you look at the last few opponents that both guys have fought, Tony Ferguson's like the level of opponent is much higher than the guys that Kevin Lee has fought in the last few. Sure, Kevin Lee finished, I think, 4 out of 5 of his last fights. I want to say he finished 4 of his last 5.
That last one was controversial, by the way.
It definitely was controversial. Michael Chiesa finished controversial, you know, given. But that being said, sure, Ferguson's a lot. You know, a couple of Ferguson's last few fights have gone to decision, but they were high-level fighters. Like these dudes, it was gonna be hard to finish. So I like Tony Ferguson in this fight, and I like him on the ground, dude. I don't think he's gonna stand. He's gonna want to. I don't think this fight's gonna stay standing for too damn long. I think if it does, I think it plays into Kevin Lee's hands, even with the funky, weird angles that Ferguson likes to use. I think Ferguson's gonna want to take us to the ground, man. Especially with Eddie Bravo in his corner, screaming his ass about flat Earth and shit.
I don't know. I'm kind of. Yeah, I know. Jesus Christ. He screams out, just look into it. Just look into it. Is like code for like arming guillotine and shit like that. Would you just have
your research?
Just shouting?
Stay woke.
Hey, Tower 7 just means like that dirty ass John Jones kick. Tower 7. You know what? I'm gonna work on that now. I mean, next time I'm cornering one of my training partners, one of my teammates, I'm gonna start. I'm telling them, hey, when I say Tower 7, single leg is motherfucker. Okay, just fucking take him down. Like,
we already like that meeting. I don't know. With this fight, I think Tony Ferguson picks him apart on the stand-up with him being that little bit longer. I can see Kevin Lee going in for those takedowns. I think that people really do underestimate Tony's wrestling, and that's one of the weird things because obviously he's not an aggressive wrestler per se. But I think if you see Kevin Lee try and take him down, I can see him getting caught in something nasty. I really can, because I think that the distance and the movement and the unorthodox striking that you mentioned previously will cause a lot of problems for Kevin Lee. And if he tries to bum rush in, we've seen too many guys get caught in dash jokes and whatnot. And that Snapdown City stuff, it's no joke. Like it catches folk, and it's ridiculous how tight he gets those grips in it and those chokes in. I personally think that he's going to pick him apart, and I think he's going to probably finish him in probably the third or fourth. I think he takes him into deep waters, and I think he smashes him all the way through. Like Brad says, I'm going to Tony Ferguson with a 4th round stoppage. It could be anything from that. I could see him beating him down and then till he has nothing left. Because we've got to take into account Kevin Lee's not gone 5 rounds. Like, that's the other thing, people. We haven't seen his cardio. We don't know how far he's going to be willing to go. And the other thing is, though, he's not somebody who's fought against a high caliber guy like Ferguson has. Ferguson, when he fought RDA, it was at high elevation. Do you know what I mean? It was, and he was non-stop. Let's not forget this as well. He put a beat down on RDA, with no cardio in his body. There was no breath in his lungs, and he's still coming forward, beating him down. I just think that we're going to see a very dominant Tony Ferguson that cements his position to potentially fight, hopefully, Conor McGregor. Because for me, I know a lot of people want to see other fights, and that's based on different things. I want to see Tony Ferguson, who, in my opinion, is the quote-unquote second best lightweight, and I want to see the number one, who's the champion, and I want to see these two fight, because that's the fight I want to see. I don't care about Nate Diaz. We've seen it twice, and it was great. Don't get me wrong, but that was at 170. We've seen how dominant Conor can be at 155 in 2 different organizations. We've seen how dominant he can be at those lighter weights. We've only seen Nate do it once, and that was so long ago. And that's against Michael Johnson, who we've seen again kind of get his ass kicked since. It's not been good for him since that fight. So I don't know. I just don't want to hear this talk about Khabib fighting fucking Conor in Russia or any bullshit like that. I just want to see the top 2 guys fight. That's it.
Yeah, I think Ferguson, as it stands today, I don't know that I put him as favourite against McGregor. I probably wouldn't. It'd probably be quite short odds, but I think he'd be the underdog. But I think he's got many more ways and a much better chance against McGregor than Nurmagomedov does. Khabib gets hit. He gets hit. It's just a fact of life. If he's getting hit by Conor, it's not a good look, man.
There's very few people who can take that left. There's very few people who can take that left.
Yeah, look, if Michael Johnson can put you on skates even for a second, Conor McGregor put your lights out.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
So what are you going for your prediction for the actual how it's going to end up, Eddie? Sorry.
Me? Oh, okay. I'm gonna get super specific. Kevin Lee shoots in for a single leg, okay, and Ferguson gets a Kimura grip and rips his arm off.
Okay.
Tap out. I'm gonna go first round.
What are you saying, Brad?
I'm gonna say 3rd round TKO.
I'm gonna go for the TKO, just for throwing that out there. And just to throw that.
You're the guy where if I said like 3 minutes is the 3rd round, you'd say 3 minutes and 1 second.
Nah, I just didn't want to go with the 3rd round because I just think to myself, like, I just think it's.
I've seen you motherfuckers on The Price is Right, man. I know your game.
Yo, yeah, I'm gonna go with the 4th just because I think he'll take him into the deep waters that he's not been in though. Right. For me, this is the most kind of overlooked fight, and amongst a lot of fans, it probably is. But Demetrius Johnson, in his attempt to break Anderson Silva's record for most title defenses against Ray Borg, is this just going to be a clean sweep, or where we're going with this? How are y'all feeling?
I have an issue here.
Is it Ray Borg making weight?
Well, there's that. But here's the thing. the only reason that this is for the record is because they don't count the Travis Lutter fight where Lutter missed weight.
Yeah.
Technically, for me, that's still a title defense.
It's
because
not.
if Lutter won, Silva loses the belt. It's vacant, but he loses the belt.
But he's not defending it, though, is he? Because he doesn't technically have... He'd probably fight for it again, though. That's the thing. If you lost the belt to him, you probably have a rematch, so you don't really lose it because you're going to have a fight.
I know it's a technicality and I'm being an arsehole, but I'm just saying.
I'm just looking at that and thinking to myself, like, if he'd have actually won, that'd have been insane to start with, to be fair.
What did Goldberg say? He's the Michael Jordan of BJJ. And Joe Rogan's like, no, that's not the case. That's not correct in any way.
This is why you guys piss me, not you specifically, but MMA fans piss me off because they'll say, I miss Goldie. And I'm like, fuck you. Like, fuck you guys for wanting Goldie back. You give Todd Grisham shit, but you don't give Goldie enough. God damn it.
Yeah, I don't know, man. This fight, I rate Demetrius Johnson as a fighter. I don't rate him as I don't know what you call it really. He's not a draw. I understand that. I understand why he's not a draw. I don't think he ever will be, but I fucking rate him as a fighter. And how couldn't you? He's technically beautiful. He doesn't do anything wrong, and hasn't done for a long time. I think his last loss was Brad Pickett at like 135 years ago in WEC.
No, his last fight was Dominic Cruz.
Did he lose to Dominic Cruz?
Yeah, I'm sure of it. I'm sure his
you're probably right.
I'm sure his last fight that he lost was Dominic Cruz and...
Yeah, it was in the tournament, wasn't it? It was in the tournament for the bantamweight title.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was UFC Live 6, 2011.
Yeah. No, you're right. I completely forgot about that one. But yeah, I mean, fucking hell, Dominic Cruz. You know,
I agree with you. I'm not saying that it's not a guy to lose to. Cause Jesus Christ, you're talking about again.
Even then, how long ago was that? That was years ago, right? That was like 5 years, 4 years.
I think that was 2011. It said, if I remember correctly, just then.
Yeah, Jesus. Well, yeah. I mean, the guy's as perfect as you're going to get. And hey, that fight against Cruz, when I think back to it, was pretty close.
Yeah.
There's a bit of controversy, and same with the Brad Pickett fight. That was a real close fight as well. Actually got out wrestled by Brad Pickett, which is mad.
It's crazy.
Yeah, Pickett scored mad takedowns on him. But yeah, anyway, we're digressing. I don't think there's a 125-pound guy out there that beats him. Be interesting to see what a guy like Dillashaw could do if he brings his power down with him. But that's the hypothetical. We're not seeing that. We're seeing him fight Borg, and I just don't think Borg's on his level by a long shot.
What's scary is if he actually makes weight, that he's going to get ransacked, because that's the other thing. We've seen him not make weight. So if he makes weight this time, how much of his body has he killed off to even make this fight?
I mean, how many times has Borg missed weight now?
Isn't
it 3?
I thought it was more than that. I thought he was one of the higher guys.
Well, regardless, 125 is clearly not his fucking weight class, is it? And
shit.
With the smaller guys as well, it kind of becomes an even bigger issue because they're generally cutting a larger percentage of their body weight.
Yeah.
Like 10 pounds for a flyweight is not the same as 10 pounds for a light heavyweight or a middleweight. That's a fucking percentage of your body weight. And that's, I remember we had a guy in Cage Wars years ago. I'm not going to say his name because it was a real fucked up situation. But he had a bantamweight fight. Or was it? He was either bantamweight or flyweight. I think he was bantamweight, or maybe 130 catchweight, and he lost 30 pounds in 48 hours.
Who?
Yeah, insane. He had to, and he fought as well. He had to go straight to hospital afterwards. He had fucking like liters of IV pumped into him in this hospital in the Middle East. And I was just thinking, like, man, if you were in America, there's no way you get to fight. And he came out, he did great for like 30 seconds and then gassed and got tapped. And it was just like fucking 30 pounds in that space of time. I mean, he was like, no, I'm fine. But it's like, no, that's the kind of shit that's going to give you organ failure if you keep doing it. He moved up after that and fought at like 145, which is a lot more suited to him. You know, he's only cutting 10 pounds now, but it's bad. It's, you know, I mean, even let's forget the damage you're doing to your body for a second. You can't possibly be performing anywhere near optimum. No. And I think if Rainbow's missed weight that many times, it's not fucking rocket science that he shouldn't be fine in that weight class. He should be 135 or whatever.
And what's really scary about that is the fact that he's not actually, he's openly said that he hasn't got in a nutritionist or anything for this. There's no difference. He's just doing it. And I just think
it's that stupid wrestling mentality of as low as you can go. And you know, with all due respect to the guys on the mats doing the collegiate wrestling, a wrestling match isn't as physically demanding as a fight where you're going 25 minutes getting punched in the head, getting punched in the body, kneed, kicked, elbowed. It's not the same thing. It's obviously a fucking high level of sport, but it's not the same thing. It's more short, sharp bursts over repeated periods. It's not the kind of thing that you want to be cutting that amount of weight for. So I think even if there wasn't the huge skill gap, which there obviously is, I can't back Rainbow in this fight because of the physical side of things.
It did amuse me.
Mighty Mouse could probably make 115.
Yeah. It did amuse me when you mentioned about the weight cut thing, though, because I was on the UFC's Snapchat and they had all the fighters talking about their number one hated question from the media and stuff like that. And a lot of them were like, the odd ones were like, oh, I don't like when people ask me, how's the training been? Are you going to do anything different for this fight? Have you learned anything from your last fight? Like, you know, the kind of questions
Standard five questions.
You have to ask these questions, though. The number one was, how's the weight cut going? And I understand why they get pissed off at this question. But hey, if some of these guys weren't cutting 40, 50 pounds, we wouldn't have to ask.
Hey, to be fair, man, I hate that question too. And I have I have weeks to cut weight for a fucking at-mat tournament, all right? But I hate that question. Seriously, my friends that were you know, at my CrossFit gym where I fucking cut weight, they're always like, how's the weight cut going? I'm like, motherfucker, it sucks. But the answer's never gonna change. Yeah, the answer's never gonna be, oh yeah, it's going fucking awesome, dude. It's going so awesome. I love eating bowls of broccoli every fucking day. That's the best shit ever. Yeah, fuck those wings, dude. Don't bring me that burger or that pizza. Give me all the broccoli. I fucking love it. I become such an asshole, like sarcastic asshole when I'm cutting weight. Like, hey, but believe me, when we get closer to December, watch me on these shows when I'm coming in like no energy, just fed up with shit. Ash is gonna be like, welcome to the motherfucking heel hook. Just stop the goddamn show, Ash. I don't have time for this shit. Just kidding.
I'm gonna get you motherfucker. God damn.
I was talking to a female fighter that a good friend of mine a couple of months back, and basically just having a real awkward conversation because she was in the middle of the last sort of 6 hours of a weight cut, and obviously in a fucking bad mood. And I was just sat there like, oh, what's your sense? And I said something like, oh, how's the cut gone this time? And she's looked at me and goes, well, my fucking tits have disappeared, but apart from that, I'm fine.
Oh, it's funny.
No, but I understand, man. But if you're getting paid bare money, man, and you know there's a lot of people missing weight, it's the question that has to be asked. It has to be asked. Do you know what I mean? It's the one job that necessarily you have. You get paid to turn up on weight. That's the only thing you have to make sure that you do. There's no other things that you have to do.
Well, we had a really interesting thing a few years ago on Cage Warriors back in like 2014 before they took the break. So it used to be in the fighters' contracts that if you missed weight by 2.2 pounds or under, you got fined 25% of your purse that went to your opponent. If it was over 2.5 pounds or 2.2 pounds, whatever it was 40% of your purse went to your opponent. So what people started doing was like saying, well, actually, that money's not really worth it to me, especially the guys lower down the card who are making fuck all. They were like, I'll actually come in 2.2 pounds over the weight, sacrifice the 25%, and not have to cut those final few pounds.
Fucking hell.
So we had one card in, I won't say where it was, it'll give away who missed weight, but we had one card where, like, I think it was like 4 or 5 guys from the same gym, like the local team who, like the home team, all did the same thing. And they all came in like 2.2 pounds over the weight limit and gave the 25% up. But it was like 5 of the top fights of the night. It was ridiculous. So we there was a heated conversation that went on with the Cage Warriors president where he was like, right, we're going to fight everyone 100% of their person if they miss weight from now on. We were like, whoa, can't really do that. That's a bit extreme.
Jesus.
But they, I think they made it like 60% if you miss by over the, obviously you get the £1 allowance, but it was basically changed to anything over the £1 allowance, you give up 60%. And I think we've had maybe two guys miss weight since.
I've got a question to ask to digress from the UFC card just for now, because it's the question that I was meaning to ask you off of there, if I'm quite honest. But what do you know about the whole Paddy situation? Is there any kind of thing that you know about what's going on with anything?
Yeah, I got you right here, bro. Don't worry about it. Paddy went to a party, fucked up, got hammered, left his shoes on, got his head shaved. That's why he didn't want to fight.
What? He's not got his head shaved.
I wish. That's an awful fucking haircut.
What? Hold on a minute. Right. Whoa. Right. Let's just rewind a minute, because your boy's been working, so I ain't seen everything that's gone on today. What the fuck are we? What are we talking about?
I'm fucking around. He's out of his fight, right? He got hurt or something?
Yeah, he got a concussion during training, unfortunately. I did hang out with him briefly last weekend. He's not got his head shaved. I can confirm that. He's still got the haircut. And he's taking me for a Chinese when I go to Liverpool, so no complaints. At least he'll be able to eat more this time.
Yeah, at least he won't be in there.
I'm gutted, man. Like, that was a real good fight. Like, this Valdo Sikic guy is fucking good. Like, people won't know much about him, but he's tasty. That was by no means a comeback fight or a gimme fight for Paddy. Like, that guy's fucking serious business on the ground and standing up. I was really looking forward to it, but if you get fucking concussed, take the time off.
Hey, I'm just glad he was responsible. I'm just glad he was responsible and knew not to come in and risk it, because the guy's got a lot of upside. Like, do you know what I mean? There's more things for him to lose than the average fighter at his age. Do you know what I mean? Like, on the come up.
And people forget that, you know, he's in that conversation with guys like Brendan Loughnane and whatnot, but people forget he's just a fucking kid, man. He's 21, 22, maybe 22 next birthday, I think. Take your fucking time, man. Like, you know, you don't want to be getting repeat concussions at that age, because your career will be fucked. But, you know, if he keeps going in, if you get a concussion and fight and get knocked out and get the second concussion while you've already got one, that's where the damage starts getting done. And all of a sudden you've got no chin and you can't remember your own name by the time you're 30, and no one wants to see that for anyone, especially not a guy as young and talented as Paddy.
Exactly.
End of the day, look, it's obviously going to be a huge hit for the card. No one's denying that. Paddy was the main draw. He wasn't even the main event. He was like third from the top, but we all know the score with Paddy and the crowd that he brings. But yeah, we still got Chris Fishgold. We've got Molly McCann, Lee Chadwick. It's going to be a big night.
Molly's
going to be a big night like him.
Molly's a beast.
Yeah,
I didn't realize how good she was.
She's got a great fight as well. She's got that Brazilian girl who's she's like 12-7 or something, but all her losses have been against top-notch girls, and she's beaten some really good girls as well. So I think if Molly wins in Liverpool, you're going to see a sign to Invicta at the very least, possibly even straight to the UFC. But her boxing is fucking next level.
Let me ask you something, because as we've seen, guys like Robbie Lawler has stopped sparring almost completely in camp, right? Now, did Paddy get concussed in sparring?
I don't know. I honestly don't know. When I spoke to him on Saturday, we didn't talk about his fight or anything like that. I didn't even know he'd been pulled. I found out I think a day before it was released. Someone told me that he was out of the fight. So I didn't even know at the time. He looked fine. Yeah, when I saw him, he didn't look in fight shape, but I guess it's 4 weeks away anyway. So I had no reason to sort of ask him about it. We just had a laugh and a joke around at the fight. He had some of his younger guys from his gym fought on FCC. So I haven't actually spoke to him or any of the guys in his camp and found out what's happened. But what I was told was that, yeah, he was concussed in sparring. So
he's been doing more strike-based training, obviously, because that was the quote-unquote weaker side of his game. So I know that he's been working on that a lot from speaking to him a few months ago. So it doesn't surprise me, because we've spoke about this before. Like, I've spoke about it with Eddie, I've spoke about it with you, Brad, and I've spoke about it with various other people. At the end of the day, in my opinion, there's a much bigger gap when it comes to learning to strike than it is to grapple, because there's more consequences as you're learning to strike. And obviously when you're a kid, you're only going to get like little knocks as a kid, but when you get into an adult and you're fighting against other adults, those hits are a lot harder than what maybe you used to. And obviously working more on his striking and stuff like that, it's just kind of, the consequences of doing more striking, and if you're going to go hard, obviously, because you want to improve quicker rather than over time, because you don't have that luxury, shit like that happens, man.
Exactly. I mean, there's like the natural fear aspect as well with striking. Some people have, everyone has the fight or flight response. And some people, when they get hit, they just have the instinct to turn away. So you've got to kind of overcome that as well. And if, maybe he's not naturally, I don't know, for example, I've never sparred with Paddy, but, if he's not naturally predisposed to taking strikes, maybe that's something he's having to deal with as well. I mean, he has been caught in a lot of his fights, even the fights that he's won. He fought for us in FCC a few times, and a few of his Cage Warriors fights, he's been either caught on the chin or dropped and then come back and smash the guy. So, it's obviously something he's consciously, now putting a lot of time and effort into. So, these things can happen. But you can get a concussion grappling, you can get a concussion playing football.
I get that. I'm just saying, though, that
shit happens, man.
It's one of those things where it's that you don't have the luxury of avoiding it. It's one of those things.
No,
it's inevitable.
And if you're dedicating 75% of your time to it instead of 50%, well, then there's obviously a bigger chance you're going to have these kind of injuries happen. I just think him and his coach and Cage Warriors have done the responsible thing and pulling from the fight, and Cage Warriors obviously fully supported that. We're all signed up to Safe MMA, Safe MMA Plus with the brain scans and the spinal scans and the eye scans now. We've lost many big fights over the past few years since we've been with Safe MMA, because guys maybe either not passed their scan or they've not had time to get signed off by a specialist, and we just say, hey, you might be the main event or you might be the big ticket seller, but fight safety is more important, and that's the most important thing at the end of the day. We don't want to see these guys get hurt.
100%. So we wish Paddy a speedy recovery so we can see him come back and fight.
Haircut. Get a haircut, bro.
Yeah, don't hate, bro. Don't hate.
That bowl cut is so weak.
Dude, it's like it's such a Liverpool thing as well, though.
I know.
Let's just. But speaking of dudes, we'll move on to Fabricio Verdum, Derek Lewis, because Fabrice has obviously been in a bit of controversy recently, and he's not kind of done himself any favors. But I don't know, man. It's going to be interesting to see if Derek Lewis can take that step up in competition. What are you thinking, Eddie?
Look, man, I'll tell you this. I'm rooting for Derek Lewis like a motherfucker. I mean, come on. That's a guy you want to go hang out with, first of all. And I'm not talking about his fighting right now. He's just a dude you just want to sit back with his friends and shit. He's funny as fuck. I mean, come on. Hey, Rhonda, where you at? Like, really, dude? You calling out? You just knocked her fucking husband or whatever, now husband out. Hey, Rhonda, where you at? Like, dog.
Savage thing in the world, isn't it?
I was like, someone needs to take this clip, just put the Thug Life thing on it with like a little butt in his mouth and like Snoop Dogg music in the back. But yeah. But I mean, this dude also went out in Houston during the fucking hurricane and was helping people get out of the flood. Like, there's nothing like, what the hell is anybody else doing? You know what I mean? Raising money, that's great. Yeah, JJ Watt raised millions of dollars. Good for you. That's great, right? Fucking Derek Lewis got his big ass truck, went out there and fucking carried ladies from their house to his truck over and over again. Meanwhile, he's got a fight coming up in about 4 weeks at that point.
Tell me that's not a fight camp, motherfuckers. That's a real fight camp, motherfuckers.
Yeah, moving human beings.
Did you see his reply to Paige Van Zandt?
No, what is? Oh yes, I did.
Yes. God damn.
Yeah. What do you say? Something you gotta wash the ass before you eat it or something like that. I was like, oh.
Yeah, you have to eat the ass after the shower, not before.
After the shower. Yeah. That was so good. I was like, damn.
She got like fucking Matt Rot and pink eye and stuff.
Matt Rot.
Yeah, it was. Look, man. Because she put that up. First of all, Paige was that fucked up because she put that up, pink eye and all this shit. She had a shitload. Everything was wrong with it, right? And then everything. everything.
Ringworm.
No, and then the next thing, she got a shitload of dick pics, and she opened up that fucking Snapchat, and it just, you can just imagine a hurricane of dick pics just flying her way.
Did you see her go on? I think it was Periscope or something like that as well. Oh, she put on like Periscope. She was on live, and or some kind of live stream. It might have been Instagram. And she went on it, and loads of guys turned around and said, "Let me fuck you in the ass." And there was there was another guy who turned around and said it was some kind of like Islamic kind of extremist type thing, that like saying we don't appreciate you white bitches or something something like that. And literally it's a screenshot of her face going.
I want to go look that up now. Oh, it's got to be awesome. Here's the thing. Someone's got to sit Paige Van Zandt down and be like, look, sweetheart, this is not rainbows and unicorns out here, okay? You do shit. You're hot, okay? You're hot. You're going to get some crazy shit. Be prepared for it. You know what I would do? I would say, you know what I would do if I'm dating a white, I hire Misha Tate to run a hot chicks like social media camp, right? So you bring in like Michelle Waters thing, you bring in Paige Van Zandt, you bring in just every chick that you can, basically all women, just so we don't exclude anybody. Fair, but
everyone but Angela Magana, basically.
Pretty much, and Betch Kohea. Angela Magana and Betch Kohea need not apply. But
Avenger.
And then, okay, yeah, there you go. But she probably just show up without an invitation. She don't give a fuck. Anyway, but here's the thing. Like, Misha Tate be like her. Misha Tate in the front of the classroom going, I'm going to teach you girls how to deal with dick pics. And just go from there. Like, that's literally, because Misha Tate's got to hold the record for most, like, received in the UFC. If that was, like, an actual stat. Like, well, 5 measures, where you fuckers at? Find that out. I want to know.
Just put it on the tail of the tape at the beginning. Most dick
Hey, and then like, there's gonna be a stat for which male fighter sent her the most. It's just Derek Lewis leading the pack. Derek Lewis leading the pack.
Worth of dick pics.
Oh fuck, that'd be the best shit ever. No, but here's the thing. So we're totally gone. I don't know what we're talking about. Oh, Derek Lewis, right? Sorry.
I just want to hear more about this fraternity.
yeah, dude. Seriously, if you just push me off a fucking like hill and I just roll down, just thinking of fucking stupid shit to say.
I just want to say one thing though about that fraternity though that you mentioned though. I was speaking to one of my friends and she does exotic dancing, and she was actually talking about how she responds to dick pics. And this a tried and tested method of how she gets rid of guys. What she does is if a guy sends a dick pic to her, what she does is she finds the biggest penis that she can find on Google Images and sends him a picture back of that.
Oh, there you go. That works. That probably works.
That works. So, ladies, you're welcome.
That'll kill like 85% of boners right there.
Yeah, exactly.
The other 15% are like, whatever, I can deal.
I can power on through, I'll be honest. I grew up in Holland, boys. There's nothing stopping this train.
I fucking bet, dude. No, but as far as like, just to bring it back a little bit, as far as like the fight itself, man. I mean, obviously, Verdum, former champion, jiu-jitsu fucking killer. His striking is like improved immensely, right? I think Derek Lewis is a haymaker away from beating him now. And as far as if Verdum's smart, AKA doesn't chase him like Stipe, you know what I mean? Like he did against Stipe. If he doesn't chase him around like that, it should be a pretty, not easily, but it should be a pretty clean win for Verdum. Should be.
Derek Lewis being able to run, if I'm quite honest with you.
Oh, no, yeah.
Derek Lewis running, to be quite fair in this fight.
You think Verdum's going to come up with a flying kick he like likes to do?
Maybe. I think we're going to see a lot of leg kicks from Verdum in this one.
Yeah. No, you know what? Not many heavyweights use those leg kicks either. It's like very few that use leg kicks. Yeah,
I think it's just that leg on leg shit.
Every guy you want to wear down, it's Derek Lewis, because we've seen he get sloppier in the later rounds of fights, and I think Verdum's a guy who can hang with him. He's technically obviously better, not as strong. Why wouldn't you wear him down with leg kicks?
I've got a theory. I think Verdum is looking to get out. I don't know how many fights he's got left on his contract. Personally, I could imagine him, if this is near or if it is his last kind of fight, I could see him quite easily kind of looking for a way out in this fight. I know that sounds really thin because no fighters want to go out easy and stuff like that. But we saw it with Rumble, you know, sometimes your heart's just not in it. I personally think that the way that Verdum's been acting recently, he's looking to get cut. Personally, that's just my opinion. I think that since that whole Nike Reebok controversy and them taking him off the Brazilian commentary team for the UFC, that's a big deal. Like, you know, it's you know, you're a commentator, obviously, Brad, and you know, if somebody just turned around and said, right, you know, the biggest job that you have, we're going to just take that away from you, that's going to affect
Yeah, it's
you.
huge. It's massive. I mean, you know, I get a lot of the jobs I get on smaller shows because I work for Cage Warriors, and I can demand the kind of money that I get because I work for Cage Warriors. If I didn't work for Cage Warriors, I would imagine I would be worth a lot less to these people, and there would be a lot of people who didn't know about me and didn't know, you know, if I was any good or not. So, you know, I've certainly found it a lot easier to get work as a commentator since I've been, you know, on big platforms like I am now. And that's obviously going to work for Verdum. I think with Verdum as well, you know, he's obviously quite pally with you know, Kadyrov and all those guys, the Akhmat Fight League. So, you know, who's to say that, you know, I mean, those guys have infinite resources essentially. So, you know, maybe he wants to fight out a UFC contract and go and take stupid money over there to commentate, to fight. You know, who's to say he couldn't get $1 million to fight some fucking bum or some lower level guy over there, win a championship with those guys.
Exactly.
Could have passed him at all.
And then obviously you know, commented the homophobic language that he used, obviously, when he was interrupting Tony Ferguson during his interview. And, you know, again, no reason for him to be a dick, like when Tony's just doing his job, trying to do his interview and this, that, and the other. Because the thing is Verdum wasn't getting interviewed. Verdum was just sat at the table. It's like, that's mad disrespectful. Do you know what I mean? And
yeah, I don't know. I mean, I know a lot of guys who've gone and trained over in Brazil, and there is a lot of homophobia in gyms over there. It's, you know, they're not necessarily as progressive as we are. And
I don't dispute that, but I think to myself, like, if you do it, there's right. Okay, I'll put it this way: there's a time and a place to say certain things that you might not say in front of everybody. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not gonna, you know, I'm not gonna use the word cunt when I'm in front of my grandma. Like, that's just common sense. So, you know, I'm not gonna say certain things. So when there's 20 cameras and somebody's getting interviewed and they're picking up the audio, that's the red light that makes me go, no, don't drop anything that'll get me into trouble, because there's audio being recorded literally to.
But you can't cure stupid at the end of the day. If someone's a dickhead, they're going to drop themselves in it.
This is true.
Is he genuinely homophobic? Who knows? Maybe not. But, you know, like you say, in that gym atmosphere in Brazil, it's one of those things that's maybe not used as a slur.
Yeah,
specifically against gay people. It's just like calling someone a dickhead. Like when you're a kid and you're like, you're gay. You don't mean it in any homophobic context. It's just.
I understand what you're saying. I think, though, that when you're in the public eye and you're in the public media, you have to obviously know your surroundings. And it wasn't like he was just, you know, walking out of a restaurant whilst TMZ's recording Dana White, and he went, Dana White, you're a faggot. He didn't say that. You know,
100%.
Oh no!
They signed like a behavior contract. It's part of the promotional contract they have, where they say they will not use racist, homophobic, sexist, discriminatory language. Like they're made fully aware. They have these fucking summits every couple of years where they're told, like, when you're on camera, when you're on social media, you do not use any of these fucking terms. And if you do, you are fucked. And he can't say ignorance is an excuse, man. It just doesn't fly.
And that's why I think that this now, that's why we see, in my opinion, the one foot out of the door of the Doom. And personally, I think, yes, it will be a contested fight, but, you know, it wouldn't surprise me if we saw Derek Lewis beat him in the second round. I just think Derek Lewis will catch him with something, I think in the second round, and I think because I think Verdum's already out. I think he already wants out of the UFC. I think he knows that, you know, he could make a lot more money in other organizations. And, you know, fair play to him. I have no prejudice against anybody who wants to just go out and make money in the limited time that they've got left. But you have to be very careful because, you know, we're starting to see people who are going over to Bellator and, hey, they're not doing too great.
I think, you know, he's got a better chance to do well somewhere like Akhmat if he fights over there. And as we know, they don't really care about the whole homophobia thing.
Yeah.
Kadyrov currently committing a gay genocide, so maybe he'll be right at home there. Who knows?
Oh dear. What are you thinking, Eddie, for this fight then? So what's your prediction?
Yeah, man, I'm rooting for Derek Lewis like a motherfucker, but I think it's gonna be Verdum. But he's just gonna tire old Derek Lewis out, and it'll be submission in the third round or TKO. Actually, I'm gonna go TKO. Unfortunately.
What are you saying, Brad? Was Brad there? I think Brad's. I think we lost.
He'll be back. I think we have to go get a beer.
Hey, I was gonna say 1 beer, 2 beer, 3 beer full.
What are you taking?
I'm going to go Derek Lewis for the second round because I really do believe
that'd be great.
There's just a part of me that feels that Verdum's already on the way out. I feel like he's already said that he's done. Do you know what I mean? That's how it personally feels for me.
Yeah, look, I mean, like I said, I'm rooting for Derek Lewis. I've never liked Verdum, by the way, ever. Not once have I ever been a Verdum fan, and a lot of it has to do with the fact that he's kind of a jackass. So, and by the way, as far as like the you know saying the faggot thing in Spanish, culturally that's just something you throw around, just fucking around. Like you in a conversation with another Latino, and speaking Spanish. First of all, when you speak Spanish to somebody, it's 100 miles an hour, right? You fucking go through fucking paragraphs and paragraphs of speech in seconds, and the word maricón can fly around like 30 or 40 times when you're just fucking around with your friends. So did he mean you'll use it in a way that people are taking it? No. That being said, you need to be really aware of who's around you and what you're doing. I mean, like, it's like if you speak the way he did at your regular job, please believe they're gonna have a problem with it. You know what I mean? They're gonna have a problem with it. And so if a mass amount of people are gonna consume the media with you saying it, and you don't expect or you think you're just gonna be cool, they're gonna be cool with it, or no one's gonna get upset, then you're wrong. You're just clearly like fucking oblivious.
And that's over 2 or 3 minutes of him getting recorded. So hashtag ankle pick.
By the way, how that would fucking work, I want to see it happen. Just fucking just real quick, try it on Verdum. I just want to see if it works. I doubt it. If
it did, that'd be the greatest thing ever.
Oh fuck yeah!
What's your prediction, Brad? Then for the fight?
I'm still going to go with Verdum. To be honest, I'm just going to go purely on how I would assess the two guys' fighting ability, and I think Verdum is just that little bit better still. Obviously, both guys at sort of different ends of their careers. I just think Derek Lewis will kind of be remembered here, and Verdum will be remembered here. He's got a few more tools in the bag. I don't think he's going to sub him. I think he'll probably stop him with strikes. I think he's going to really work that leg kick, maybe go to the body a few times, and I think he's just going to catch him with something. And when Lewis is kind of out of gas, he'll finish him, catch him with something and finish him on the ground.
Derek Lewis by the front kick in the second round. Just throwing that out there. What the fights are we going to talk about on this one? Because I was going to mention. It's not even on the main card. That's abysmal. Yo, I'm looking at some of the other fights that are on this card, like on the main card, and like that Mara and Kalindra. Like I have no idea who these two chicks are. They're
making their UFC. Yeah, it's UFC debut stuff. So that was supposed to be the KGB fight.
Right. Okay. Can we just please just state that like Cody Stanham and Tom Firekid are on the prelims? Like, can we just address that? Maybe that should have been on the main card.
Or thank you for giving us a free fight.
Yeah, I think that one had been advertised as the main event on Fox Sports for a long time. Like that was the one Fox wanted as a headliner. So I understand them keeping that one, but I thought they maybe would have put like the Nick Lentz fight up or something.
Yeah, that's against Will Brooks. That'd have been a sick fight as well.
It's gonna be a sick fight. Shit.
I like Tom though. Tom's a badass. So I hope he does well, to be quite fair. It's nice to see some Europeans doing well over in the States. So
Yeah. I mean, Duke Amar's fucking legit, man. He really is. He really is very, very good. I think he didn't look as great as everyone thought he would in his UFC debut, but people get, they call it the octagon jitters, I suppose. It does happen. It is a real thing. Again, he's a young guy still. Fought some great fights over in this part of the world.
amazing.
I mean, I wouldn't have been sorry to see his fight against Loughnane go either way. That was a sick bout, though.
Yeah,
and I think it's got a lot of upside.
I think that's one of those fights that, like, you kind of hope that comes back around in the UFC. Like, that's one of those fights that you kind of look at and go, ooh, maybe.
My fucking problem is with Loughnane in the UFC. Like, he should have gone back a number of times now. He's taking big fights. He took a fight against Pat Healy, another fight that could have gone either way. I think Brendan's probably going to get his chance as like a late replacement, maybe on one of the European cards. Like, someone will drop out and he'll step in. But yeah, I'd love to see that fight against Duke Amar again. I think that'd be awesome.
It'd be nice to see. I think you can see Brendan coming through. I'm surprised he hasn't got a call up for the Poland card, if I'm quite honest.
Who?
I know there's a gap on the KSW card that's coming up in Dublin, so hopefully he gets that.
Right, that makes sense. What was I going to say? I forgot that Bobby Green's fucking fighting as well.
That's a good fucking fight. Bobby Green and what?
Lando.
Yeah, but that's a good fight.
Yeah, I'm saying it's a sick fight.
Yeah, do it, because both guys are clown. They're like, okay, I thought you said something else. Yeah, it's gonna be a fucking sick fight. I'm down with that fight.
We've got fucking Talis Latis versus Brad Tavares. Second fight of the night on Fight Pass.
Yeah.
What the fuck is that doing? It's the second fight of the night on Fight Pass.
This is what I'm saying, man. This is what we're saying.
I mean, a lot of it could be with, when the Fight Pass first came out, they were putting really good fight, like one really good fight on the Fight Pass just to try and get people to sign up. Maybe they're going back to that a little bit, or someone maybe someone just ate a bunch of little like slips of paper with the matchups on them and just threw them up, or wherever they land is where they fucking put the fight. I mean, seriously, it's a weird fucking card, but I'd like to try and justify that fight being on the Fight Pass. The fact they're trying to sell it.
Maraga's on there as well.
Yeah, that one I kind of understand though.
No, but I'm just saying though, you look at like the way that these have been positioned and how the cards have been organized, and I always feel that the best cards that we usually see are, small, big, small, big, and then you build up in the level of guys, and that's how every card should always be built, because then you get that rise fall, because otherwise people gas out. Like, as fans, we can't have that constant up, or down. We need up, down, because otherwise you just can't. You can't. I don't know. When it'll literally be this Saturday coming. It'll be a year to the day when me and my friends went to UFC 204, and that card was really well structured for us. You know what I mean? Because it went up, down, and it worked perfectly, obviously, because it slowed down the pace just before, obviously, the Bisbin-Hendo fight, which was insane. So,
but you can't really. You can plan that to an extent, but there's no guarantee.
Oh no!
There's been UFC cards that look like dog shit, and they've ended up being like knockout after knockout. And there was one back in the day. I'm trying to remember what number it was. I think it was like 59 or something, and they actually called it UFC Knockout. And there was no fucking knockout finishes on the entire card. It was all like decisions and subs. It's like, you can't really predict that. Like, but looking at this Fight Pass card, it's like, look at Walt Harris versus Mark Godbeer above Talis Latis and Brad Tavares. I don't understand. I don't rate Mark. I'll be honest. I don't rate Mark Godbeer at all. I don't. I know he's a UK guy and I should be behind him, but I think he's shit.
I think there's some fighters that just we've seen a few of them. We've seen, what was the former bodyguard of Conor? What's his name? Shit, the guy with the one who got fucking face planted.
Oh, Charlie Ward.
Another guy, who shouldn't really be in the UFC, if we're being completely.
He should have been nowhere near the UFC, man. With all due respect, he really shouldn't. Yeah. He's fighting John Redmond on. It's either the KSW card or the Banner card that's coming. I think it's the KSW one in Dublin. He's fighting John Redmond. That's actually a good fight.
Opportunity, but when you get the opportunity, take the opportunity. That's my.
Of course, yeah.
You know, everybody. You know, you never know. There could be one guy who gets an opportunity and he does exceptionally well. You know, given the opportunity. Some people thrive under the bright lights. Do you know what I mean? Like, some people are just different that way out. They can't do it in small areas. Like, we've said it before, where some people look great in the gym and they don't look so great when they go out into the bright lights. Some people, it's the opposite way. They look dog shit in training. We all know somebody who's dog shit in training. If you turn around and say to them, right, it's time to compete, this is a competition, switch goes, and it's just something different. There's just something better about them that when you've seen them in training all day, they've been garbage.
And the other way around as well. I mean, there's so many gym monsters who, have just got reputations for fucking smashing pro fighters. And then when they get in there, I don't know if you remember the first UK versus USA tough, there was a guy called David Faulkner on there with a dyed hair. I mean, Dave's a fucking legit guy. He's a legit catch wrestler, a legit submission guy. I think he's actually having a comeback fight in a couple of weeks' time. But he just, for some reason, never made it as a pro fighter. Like, he just used to switch off. And I think on his tough prelim fight, he was smashing the guy. And then he came back for the second round and he was like, no, I'm done. He was spitting his gum shield out. And he's just always suffered with that through his career. But now he's back in the gym coaching guys and he's a fucking killer again.
It's a crazy game.
The mental pressure that you put yourself under in this game, especially at the top levels, it's something that the vast majority of human beings just aren't conditioned to, and will never have to be conditioned to. Like, it's not like winning a race or playing a game of football or hitting a tennis ball or something like that. You're putting not only your pride and your ego on the line, but you're putting your health on the line as well. And most people can't deal with that, and that's nothing to be ashamed of. It's not how life's supposed to work. But if anything, it gives you a newfound respect for the guys who can go out there and who can do it.
The thing too is the fact competition is a motherfucker, man, in any sport, right? But example, basketball, you got four of the guys on the court. If you miss a shot, cool. One of your boys could get the rebound, kick the ball back out, start the offense over. Great, awesome. In football, you fumble the ball, maybe one of your guys in this American football, one of your guys might be able to jump on it, right? You keep the possession, you get to go. Soccer, the same thing. You got 10 other guys in the field besides you, right? So in MMA and combat sports, it's you and the other guy. You know what I mean? If, like, me personally, and just for tournaments and stuff, there's been times where I find myself getting so mentally wound up in my own head. You know what I mean? I start thinking, like, fuck, what if I fuck this up? This is, I get one shot. This is a single elimination tournament, blah, blah, blah. That I have to, like, take a break and every few days I got to take a break and stay away from all the TV. I have to stay away from all online stuff and just go do something totally non-related to any of that, just to get my mind right? I have teammates. I've spoken to other guys that I have one in particular who can only compete maybe every 6 months or so, maybe sometimes once a year, because the anxiety gets to him so badly, right? He is a killer on the mats. I roll with him, and it doesn't take very long for him to just find my back somehow. Just he find a way to it and choke, taps me out quick. But in competition, you can see his mind kind of fucks itself a little bit, and he kind of has a harder time, doing what he knows he can do. He has a hard time getting to it. So I think part of that too is with fighters is getting in there is I mean, mental's like 90% of the game, dude. If you don't go in there with, mentally ready, it can fuck your shit up.
It's funny because you mentioned that, because I was listening to Joe Rogan talk to Jim Norton.
Yeah, the other day, yeah.
Yeah, and I was listening to that podcast, and he was talking about the fighters, and he said there's been few moments during like the UFC's history that fighters have not made it to the fights just purely based on the anxiety, because obviously people get anxious and whatnot before, but for some people, like, they find it so difficult to calm themselves down to be prepared to actually go out and do it, that they get so anxious and so wound up that they just basically disable themselves from being even able to function properly, even to go out and compete, and they get in their own heads too much. And it's that thing, isn't it? I forget the percentages, but the majority of the percentage of is mental. It's not. It's like 95% mental, 5% physical.
Yeah.
And It's so true. Like, you know, I've competed in, you know, like kickboxing tournaments, never in MMA. But to know that you're gonna go and step in front of somebody who's gonna try and fucking hit you,
Yeah.
and especially it's so much different than training in a gym, because you're gonna see the same guy the next week or the next 2 days later, and you're gonna train with them again. When you don't know how hard somebody hits, when you don't know how quick somebody hits, and you can watch videos as much as you want, in my honest opinion, I think it helps as far as technique, and you see their sloppy side, but I don't think anything prepares you for how hard somebody hits. It just doesn't. And that's another thing that gets into your head. If somebody hits you, even if it's just a glancing blow, you're like, fucking hell, that didn't fucking tickle. And then it's the things where you get in your own head again.
I commentated on Fight UK 2 weeks ago in Leicester, and the co-main event, the local guy got into the cage, and his opponent was stood at the. It was in like a big basketball court type thing in a sports hall. So they had like the fight entrance was like the main entrance to the hall, and the guy was stood there looking towards the cage, turned round, walked straight out of the building, straight out the door, ran off up the street, just fucking disappeared. He just didn't. He basically took, like, you know, he'd watched his opponent walk out. Let's say his opponent was like the local guy. He probably sold the most tickets of anyone there that night. There was maybe 1,000 people in the room, and maybe like 300, 250 were there just to see his opponent, and the crowd have gone fucking nuts. And there's a lot of other local people who knew this guy anyway, because they're all from like a couple of local gyms. And you literally just, you know, he just turned around and fucked off, ran off up the street. The promoters, you know, like Judo Jim Walter, he's the promoter of the show, and he was fucking chasing the guy up the street to try and find him. But they just had to call it in the cage. It was like, yeah.
Yo, you have to do a WWE count out. 1.
Yeah.
You have to do it. You have to do a count out, and if he doesn't make it back within 10 seconds, you're out of there.
Here's the thing too is, I remember at the last tournament that one of my the last tournament that I went to, I didn't compete. One of my friends competed. I was just there, you know, supporting and you know, cornering and shit. And yeah, me, that's right, me. Anyway, but sorry, we're waiting, and you know, they call out the weights, right? So all middle weights or all mid heavy or whatever, ultra heavy, super heavies, you know, come weigh in. It's time for weigh in. They kept naming this one guy. They said his name literally like 15 times. It turns out it was him and one other guy in that bracket, right? And they really wanted to give him a chance to fucking weigh in, because they didn't want to leave, you know, give us the guy a gold medal without competing. It's no fun. I mean, it happens all the time, especially with white belts, but it sucks. So they kept saying the thing over and over and over again. I'm sitting in the stands waiting. You know, it's like another 10 minutes before my teammate fought, and I hear the guy behind me going, "Dude, they keep calling your name." He's like, "Oh, I don't want to, dude. You see the guy over there?" And I'm like, "Whoa! Like, you paid to register to fight in this tournament, or you compete in this jiu-jitsu tournament, and you saw your opponent, and now you don't want to go." That mental mind fuck is crazy. Like, I get super wound up. I go the other way. I go, fuck this motherfucker. Fuck whoever had the balls to sign up in this bracket. I'm gonna fuck them all up to the point where my playlist, no joke, my playlist, you know, where, you know, when you make the walk into the fucking gym or into the you know, the venue, and then my walk to the scales, and then in the bullpen, legit, my playlist is Michael Jackson on it, has fucking like the calmest shit you've ever heard, because I have to calm myself down, because I'm so wound up, ready to fucking just go. You know what I mean? That I have to calm myself down. For real. I'm not even fucking around, dude.
I used to go the other way. I used to go with that fucking Soulfly versus Slipknot song.
Oh, there you go. That's good shit, yeah. I got Drake on myself.
Like Eddie's listening to "It's the Way You Make Me Feel."
That's exactly. Hey, that's the one though. I got that. I got fucking what else I got? I got a little bit of Jack Johnson in there. Oh, I got Voodoo Child by Jimi Hendrix. Just like chill ass shit.
It's a tune though.
Yeah. But I have a bunch of just chill ass music, because then, you know, then I'm not gonna good. I'm at good RPMs at that point. Once I'm at the mat, I'm good to go. But if I come in wound up like crazy, I'll shoot in for some retarded double leg and get fucking guillotined. Watch, I'm telling you, it'll be just retarded.
I can't deal with you listening to Michael Jackson as you walk in.
Oh, dude, it's easy, man. It's so easy. It's so easy. You're fine once you get used to it. I'm about to go kill this motherfucker. Tell him that it's human nature. Yeah, fuck this guy. Can't believe he signed up. Why? It gets stupid as shit, but I seriously gotta do it. I gotta like lighten my own mood up. Otherwise, I'm too crazy.
Oh my god. Oh well. On that note, ladies and gentlemen, we're gonna end the show. Shout out to our sponsors, Receptra, kicking us up with all the CBD oil, getting Eddie prepared for his jiu-jitsu competition in December.
Appreciate it.
Obviously they're helping with all my kind of benefits as far as like mental and my back inflammation and all that kind of good stuff. I couldn't recommend CBD enough to people. So check out the hemp oils that they do, the CBD oils, the topicas, the body butters. I just got some body butters as well that I just got in. So yeah, check out receptranaturals.com if you're in the United States. That's RECEPTRA. And if you're in Europe, you want to go to receptraglobal.com. That's RECEPTRA global.com. Use the code word the heel hook on either site for 10% off your entire order. So fill that basket up, get all that good stuff, get healthy, get Receptra Natural. Additional to that, make sure that you check out Bane. Bane is a jiu-jitsu and athletic apparel. They do t-shirts, hoodies, rash guards, mugs, artwork, all that good stuff. So if you're really into jiu-jitsu, take a look at bainstore.com, which is BAIN store.com. They drop new gear all the time, and it's all quality, all good. And, you know, I use it to whenever I go to jiu-jitsu, or even if I'm just going to go to the gym. It's always funny because I always see guys in like tap-out gear and stuff like that, and like it's mind fucking to me. It's either that or I get seeing people in the Under Armour rash guards and they just look nasty. So get I'm sorry, I can't deal with the when I look at certain rash guards and they look so like bland. I don't know, maybe it's because I've been watching too much EBI and I've been fucking seeing guys wearing like Wolverine fucking spats and stuff like that. Maybe that's the reason why. But yeah, so make sure that you check out bainstore.com. Use the code with the heel hook for 10% off and enjoy all your jiu-jitsu inspired apparel. And you as well, Brad.
I've got a weekend off, so you'll find me in Blackpool riding the Big Dipper.
I'm so glad that said Dipper then, motherfucker.
Yeah.
Who knows? Maybe after a few hours in Lineker's bar, things might change. But you'll find me on Twitter at MMABrad48, and weekend after next, I will be in Wales calling the next Cage Warriors show, and it's going to be awesome.
And that's on BT Sports as well as Fight Pass, isn't it?
BT Sport, UFC Fight Pass, that new free sport channel in the UK, and check your local listings for time on channel.
Where can they find you, Eddie?
All right, I'm at Elaw31 on Twitter, Elaw52 on Snapchat, and Elaw7 on Instagram. And of course, all the podcasts on crossbonesmma.com. And by the way, you were talking about the Rogan podcast. I want to fucking tell you before I forgot. They had Brian Fogel on yesterday. He had him on there. The guy that made Icarus had him on there. Did you watch it?
No. I literally.
The director of Icarus. The director of Icarus is on there. It was pretty fucking interesting. So, you know, watch that shit. I recommend it.
That's going to be a cool one to kind of vibe to. Seeing as like the documentary was Boss, so I'll I'm not even on there right now. I'm going to check that literally right now. So if people are like watching it, then it's not on yet as far as audio. So
okay.
So make sure you check that out tomorrow, today, tonight, whatever place in the world you're at. You can make sure that you just check this fucking channel and subscribe to it, guys. We need you to hit that subscribe, hit that like, tell a friend to do the same. Make sure you share this episode. We appreciate all your support, obviously, when you guys come through in the chat, and obviously when you share the videos and obviously like these videos. So we appreciate all the love. Additional to that, make sure that you follow us on Twitter, which is The Heel Hook Show. That's at The Heel Hook Show, and that's on Twitter. We're also on Twitch, which is twitch.tv/The Heel Hook. And you can also find us on Instagram, The Heel Hook, SoundCloud, The Heel Hook, and iTunes. So if you missed any of this episode, you'll be able to catch the full episode on iTunes and SoundCloud within the next 12 hours. Lastly, you can find me at Just Ash Official on Snapchat. You can find me at Ash Lamprey on Twitter. That's ASHLEYLAMPREY. For myself, Eddie, and Brad, This has been the Heel Hook, guys.